Time before time. Have you ever stood in front of something so old, so silent, that it made you feel small? As if time itself paused just long enough for you to wonder, what came before all of this? Imagine walking through the desert, the wind brushing softly against your skin when suddenly it appears, a mountain of stone carved not by nature but by someone or something. The Great Pyramid. It's not just old, it might be older than anything we've been told. Before we begin, take a deep breath. Let your shoulders drop. Let your mind wander. And while you're here, why not share where you're watching from in the comments? It's beautiful how people from different parts of the world can gather around the same mystery. If you're enjoying this journey into the unknown, consider subscribing or leaving a like. Now let's drift back in time, or maybe before time even began. For a long time, we were told the Great Pyramid was built around 4,500 years ago, that it was made by thousands of workers, perhaps slaves, ordered by a powerful king. But the more we look at it, the more it seems like something is missing from that story. What if the pyramid wasn't made during the time we think it was? What if it's even older? Much older. We know the desert hasn't always been a desert. Long ago, it was green, full of rivers and trees and life. And when scientists studied the base of the pyramid, they noticed something strange. The stones at the bottom were weathered, but not by wind, by water. Heavy, long-lasting rain. The kind of rain that hasn't touched Egypt for thousands of years. Maybe even 10,000. Or more, can you imagine that? A pyramid standing in the middle of what was once a lush, green world. Before cities, before kingdoms, before even writing. Built by hands we'll never meet, speaking languages we'll never hear. And yet, here it is. Sometimes history isn't written in books. It's written in silence, in the things that refuse to disappear. The pyramid has no signature, no date carved into stone, no name to say, "I built this." That alone is strange. Because if a king had built it, wouldn't he have wanted the world to know, to remember him? But maybe it was never about being remembered. Maybe it was about remembering. In your own life, think about the objects you hold on to. Old notes, a photo, a piece of jewelry. You don't keep them because of how shiny or expensive they are. You keep them because they carry something deeper. A moment, a memory, a feeling that words can't hold. Maybe the pyramid is like that. A memory left behind by a world long gone. Some believe it was built before the last ice age, before the oceans rose and swallowed parts of the land. They say it was a message left for whoever came next. Not a message made of words, but of form, of shape, of stone. Because stone lasts, and it doesn't lie. When you're young, adults tell you time is simple, that it moves in one direction, that yesterday is behind us and tomorrow is ahead. But when you grow up, you start to feel the truth. Time bends. Time loops. Some moments feel like they never happened. Others feel like they never ended. Maybe the pyramid is part of one of those loops, a piece of time that slipped through the cracks and stayed. What's even more strange is how perfect the pyramid is. Its sides align almost perfectly with the four directions: north, south, east, west. The base is level within a fraction of an inch. Even today, with our modern tools, building something that exact would be hard. So how did they do it? If they didn't have our tools, or machines, or even wheels? The blocks are huge. Some weigh as much as an elephant. And yet, they were moved, lifted, placed. Over 2 million of them, all fitting together with such care that even a thin blade can't slide between them. Would we, today, build something so perfect and not leave behind a single drawing or diagram or instruction? Maybe we didn't build it. Maybe someone else did. Or maybe we did. But we forgot how. Have you ever walked into a room and suddenly felt like you've been there before? A kind of memory that doesn't belong to you. A feeling you can't explain. That's how many people describe being near the pyramid. as if it's not just a thing you see, but something that sees you, as if the stones remember something the world forgot. Could a building do that? Could it carry memory the way a song does? The way a scent or a story can bring tears to your eyes without you knowing why? Some think the pyramid was never meant to be a tomb. No body has ever been found inside, no gold, no writing. Just empty rooms, narrow shafts, and perfect silence, as if it was waiting, not for death, but for a moment, for a mind curious enough to wonder. That moment might be now. Maybe we're not the first to build great things. Maybe we're the ones who rediscovered them. Maybe history isn't a straight line, but a wave, rising, falling, forgetting, remembering. Look around your life. We think we know where we came from. We think we know what tomorrow brings. But how much do we really remember? And how much have we lost? The Great Pyramid doesn't shout. It doesn't fight for attention. It simply stands, patient, watching, as if it knows something we don't, as if it's waiting for us to ask the right question. So here we are, asking gently, quietly, who built it? When? Why? And perhaps most of all, what were they trying to tell us? If this moment touched something inside you, share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us where you're listening from. Let's see how many people around the world are dreaming the same dream. And if you'd like to keep exploring, don't forget to subscribe, like, and come back for the next mystery. There are many, some far older than time itself. Sky-crafted coordinates. Imagine stepping outside on a cool, clear night, looking up at the stars, and realizing that those tiny lights might be guiding something massive, something built by hands long gone. Before we begin, take a moment to breathe. Feel your feet on the ground, and if you're comfortable, leave a quick comment telling me where you're watching from. It's amazing how people from all over the world can share the same wonder. If you find this journey into ancient mysteries soothing or thought-provoking, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing for more. Now, let's explore just how the Great Pyramid of Giza seems to reach out to the heavens. Have you ever noticed how people find patterns in the sky? It might be as simple as spotting the Big Dipper on a chilly evening or remembering shapes in clouds that float by. We lean into these patterns because they give us a sense of order in a vast world. When you're cramming for an exam, you might sketch mind maps, connecting ideas with arrows and circles to make sense of the chaos. Or when you plan a weekend trip, you check the weather map and align your schedule with the forecast. We constantly look for alignments between ideas, events, and even desires. Now imagine thousands of years ago, ancient builders doing the same thing on a grand cosmic level. The Great Pyramid doesn't just sit randomly on the Giza Plateau. Its four sides are almost perfectly aligned with the cardinal directions: north, south, east, and west. That alone is astonishing. But when you look deeper, you see something more. Its shape and orientation mirror the stars in Orion's belt. In the night sky, Orion's three bright stars form a line that points toward Sirius, the brightest star we see. Below them, three lesser stars create a slightly offset line. The ancient Egyptians called this belt Sekhet, meaning the field of reeds, and linked it to Osiris, the god of rebirth. Placing the pyramid to echo those celestial bodies might not be coincidence. It could be a statement, a way to bring the heavens down to earth, to make this feel more human. Think about how you arrange photos on a shelf. Maybe you place your favorite picture frame in the center so it lines up with a window, catching the morning light. Or perhaps you set your alarm clock to the exact minute you need to wake up for a sunrise run. You're aligning something important with something natural, a sunrise, a window, a memory. Ancient builders did this on a scale we can hardly imagine today. They aligned massive stone blocks, weighing as much as a car, so precisely that if you drew a line from the pyramid's edges, it would point almost perfectly to those three stars in Orion's belt. But why? What did these alignments mean to them? In the same way that we might feel calm watching a sunset or inspired seeing the first snow of winter, they may have felt a deep connection to the stars. They looked up and saw Osiris's soul traveling across the sky. To them, death wasn't an end but a transformation. Aligning the pyramid with Orion could symbolize the pharaoh's journey to join the gods. Imagine your favorite song playing at just the right moment in your life. How it can change everything. For these ancient people, the sky was a soundtrack to their existence, and the pyramid was a way to step into that music. Of course, it could be easy to say, maybe they just guessed, but when you consider the tools they had, simple ropes, wooden planks, basic surveying instruments, the precision is staggering. They didn't have GPS or laser levels, yet they managed to measure degrees of angle with such care that modern engineers are still amazed. Today, if we build a skyscraper, we use lasers and computers to ensure it's straight. Back then, they used the stars themselves. On a cloudless night, they watched a star circle the North Star, traced its path, and used that as a guide to establish true north. That's like playing a video game blindfolded and winning. Now, maybe you felt lost on a late-night study session, wondering if your efforts will ever align with success. You draw charts on paper and hope they match the test questions. That nervous feeling, wondering if your lines will connect, mirrors what the pyramid builders experienced. They needed to trust that their observations under the same sky their ancestors saw would guide them to build something that would last. And here we are, 4.5 millennia later, still tracing those same lines. But the connection runs deeper than just alignment. When you feel anxious about your future, you might look to a mentor or a friend, hoping their advice will point you in the right direction. The ancients looked to the stars as mentors. They believed these celestial bodies were the homes of gods and spirits. By mirroring those patterns in stone, they wove their beliefs into the very fabric of the earth. It's almost like writing a letter to someone you love. You choose your words carefully, hoping they'll feel what you feel. The pyramid is that letter, carved from millions of stone blocks sent to the sky. This idea touches something universal. Think of how sometimes a single line in a poem can change how you see the world. A simple verse, when placed just right, can make you notice details you've been ignoring. The heavens above were those verses for the ancient Egyptians. By aligning the pyramid to the sky, they invited everyone, then, now, and in the future, to pause and wonder. They said, look up. Remember you are part of something larger. That sentiment resonates whether you believe in gods, stars, or science. Beyond belief, this alignment speaks to language itself. We often use metaphors like star paths or guiding lights in our conversations. We say, she's my guiding star, or I need a star to point me north. These phrases show how deeply our language is tied to the sky. The pyramid took that link literally, turning words and thoughts into stone. In that sense, it's a monument to communication across time. It asks us to consider how we connect our inner worlds with the outer universe. From a mental health perspective, aligning something on Earth with something in the sky can bring comfort. When you're feeling down, looking up at a starry sky can make your worries feel smaller. You remember you're part of a vast, beautiful cosmos. The builders of the pyramid might have found solace in the same way. Constructing something that pointed to Orion's belt could be seen as a collective breath, an act of hope and faith. When life felt uncertain, they built a constant, an anchor for their spirit. In our own modern lives, we sometimes build our own pyramids. Projects, routines, or relationships we hope will connect us to something lasting. Maybe it's a garden you nurture, hoping it blooms every spring. Or perhaps it's a song you play every morning to set your mood. In each case, you're aligning your day with something you believe in. The pyramid did that too, on a cosmic scale. It's as if each stone block was placed with a silent prayer, may this endure, may this guide. Finally, consider how these ancient methods might inspire our future, especially in technology and AI. Today, engineers are exploring ways to build structures that adapt to the environment. Solar panels that follow the sun or self-healing materials that repair themselves. What if our future machines learned from the pyramid's silent dialogue with the sky? What if we programmed robots to align solar farms exactly with the sun's path or designed smart cities that breathe with the wind? The pyramid stands as a reminder of what's possible when we look up and listen. As we close this moment together, I invite you to share your own experiences. Have you ever felt guided by something beyond yourself? A song, a word, or a sight? Leave a comment below and tell us where you are watching from. Your story might connect with someone else's in a way that brings comfort and wonder. If you've felt curious about the sky or inspired to learn more, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more deep dives into ancient mysteries. We have many more wonders to explore, each one reminding us that we are small, yet part of something vast and timeless. No mummy found. Have you ever opened a box, expecting treasure, and found nothing inside? That empty space can feel strange, like a promise broken. Before we dive into the mystery, take a moment to breathe. If you're comfortable, leave a comment, telling me where you're watching from. It's a simple way to connect, reminding us we're all in this together. If you enjoy these gentle explorations, please give this video a like and subscribe for more. Now imagine standing before the Great Pyramid. You've been told it is a tomb, built to hold the body of a pharaoh. Your heart beats a little faster. As you step inside, certain you will see a grand sarcophagus, decorated and gleaming. But instead, you are met with silence. No opulent coffin, no golden mask, not a single trace of a mummy. How is that possible? When the pyramid was first opened thousands of years ago, explorers searched for evidence of the king who ordered its construction. Their hope was a grand burial treasure, as seen in smaller tombs nearby. In those tombs you might find an empty bowl, a piece of cloth, or an ancient toy, simple things that tell stories of everyday life. But in the Great Pyramid, there was nothing. The chamber was bare, not a single whisper of a life once lived. Consider a time when you prepared for an important exam. You studied hard, expecting to find questions on the topics you practiced. But when the test arrived, the questions were entirely different. That moment of confusion, of feeling lost and questioning what you thought you knew, that is similar to what scholars felt when they found the pyramid empty. They expected to uncover proof of a royal burial. Instead, they found silence. That silence speaks louder than any artifact. We often use simple words that carry heavy meaning. We say tomb and picture a place where bodies rest, wrapped in linen and surrounded by offerings. But what if that word leads us astray? What if calling the Great Pyramid a tomb is like calling a library a garage? We might miss its true purpose because our language limits us. In our own lives, we might label a person based on a single action and never learn their full story. That label, once given, shapes how we see everything. Similarly, labeling this monument a tomb might have shaped centuries of misunderstanding. When the weather changes without warning, say you wake to a clear sky and by noon there's a sudden storm, you might question your forecast. How could you be so sure? The builders who assumed the pyramid was a tomb were like someone relying on a faulty forecast. They looked at the clues they had, its location near other burial sites, nearby cemeteries, and texts that spoke of a grand catacomb. But they did not see the missing pieces, the absence of burial items, the lack of inscriptions naming a pharaoh, and the blank walls that seemed to guard a secret. In many relationships, we expect certain roles. A friend might always be the jokester, so when they show vulnerability, it surprises us. We struggle to see beyond the label we placed on them. In the same way, archaeologists expected the pyramid to be a tomb because they saw nearby tombs, smaller, pyramids meant for queens, and assumed this grand structure followed the same pattern. But people are complex. so too might be ancient monuments. We learn to look deeper, to question our labels, and to allow for surprises. There is a story in every empty space. Think of a quiet room where laughter once filled the air. Now, the walls hold only echoes of what was. That emptiness carries its own weight. It asks us to fill it with imagination and wonder. The Great Pyramid's empty chamber asks the same. Why was it left blank? Was the body moved? Was the pyramid never meant to hold a body at all? Or did the pharaoh choose to become something else, more idea than flesh? Belief has guided human actions for millennia. When you believe in someone, you give them your trust. You might lend them money or share your deepest thoughts. Belief can shape reality. The ancient Egyptians believed in an afterlife. They believed the soul traveled to the stars. They equipped their smaller tombs with food, clothing, and tools they might need beyond death. Yet in the Great Pyramid they left no such offerings. That absence suggests a different belief. Perhaps they believed the pharaoh's spirit had already merged with the cosmos and needed no material items. In our modern world, we sometimes struggle with what to believe. We might chase after the latest trend or idea only to find it empty, like a box with nothing inside. That moment of realization can be painful, but it can also be freeing. When you realize an old belief no longer serves you, you open space for new understanding. The empty chamber of the pyramid invites us to let go of old assumptions and consider that perhaps the pharaoh's journey was not one of material gathering, but of spiritual transformation. Language shapes our mental health. 2. Think of negative self-talk, those whispers inside that say, "You can't," or "You're not enough." When you replace those whispers with kinder words, you create room for growth and healing. The pyramid's silent walls seem to speak a different message. There is more than meets the eye. Its emptiness can be a blank canvas, urging us to rewrite our own stories, free from labels and expectations. Even AI grapples with labels. Machine learning models categorize images, guess our preferences, and serve us ads. But they can miss nuance. A picture of a cat might be labeled animal, ignoring that it's a beloved pet. In the same way, calling the Great Pyramid a tomb focuses our search on a buried body, potentially blinding us to other functions. What if the pyramid was a monument of energy, a symbol of cosmic alignment, or a place of initiation? These ideas might sound strange, but they remind us to question the straightforward classification we so often rely on. Bridging from the pyramid's empty heart to our own lives, consider how we often fill voids with distractions. Scrolling on our phones, buying things we don't need, or chasing the next big thrill. Those distractions can mask a deeper search for meaning. The pyramid stands quietly, refusing to be a tomb. Its empty chamber echoes with an invitation. Look beyond the obvious. Ask new questions. In doing so, it becomes a mirror for our own inner landscapes, reminding us that the absence of something can be as powerful as its presence. When a friend doesn't show up for a plan, you might worry. Did they forget? Are they okay? That empty space can push you to reach out, to connect more deeply. Similarly, the empty chamber pushes us to explore. It urges us to dig in our minds, to question history, to seek understanding beyond the surface. That journey can be frightening, especially when it means admitting we might be wrong. But it can also be liberating, offering fresh perspectives we never imagined. Quiet moments can be powerful. Imagine sitting beside a still lake at dawn, watching mist rise from the water. No birds singing yet, no wind stirring the trees, just a vast calm that invites you to feel something profound. The pyramid's inner chamber is like that lake. No treasure, no signs of life, just space, silence, possibility. In that stillness, we can confront our own expectations. We can wonder what lies beyond the known. Now, as we move forward in this journey, I invite you to share your thoughts. What does empty space mean to you? Have you ever found something you expected to see, only to discover nothing? Tell us in the comments, and let us connect across the world. If you felt a spark of curiosity or calm as you listened, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more thoughtful explorations. We will continue to wander through ancient wonders, together, embracing the silence and learning from the spaces they leave behind. Mathematical perfection. What if I told you the Great Pyramid is a math book written in stone? Imagine standing at its base and feeling a gentle breeze on your face, the kind of breeze you feel before the rain comes in. As you look up at the smooth sides, you might not see math at first, but hidden within those massive blocks is a secret code, a code that reaches out to us across 4,500 years. Before we dive deeper, take a moment to say hello in the comments and let us know where you're listening from. It's amazing to see how many corners of the world come together when we share wonder. If you enjoy this gentle journey, please give this video a like and subscribe, and we'll keep exploring these quiet mysteries together. Now, let's wander into the realm of numbers and stone. When you hold a circle in your mind, you know there is something special about its curves. That special number, P, is in every circle you make, whether you draw a simple hoop on paper or watch a raindrop spread out on the pavement. And when you see a spiral, like the pattern on a seashell or the way a sunflower seeds itself, you're looking at another golden ratio, F, a number that pops up in nature again and again. We often think of math as something taught in school, formulas we memorize, tests we worry over, answers we double-check. But math is more than a subject. It's a way of feeling the world. When you see the sunset, you might notice how the color changes slowly, like a lesson unfolding. Or when you wait for a bus on a cold morning, you learn about patience and timing. The pyramid's builders understood this too. They turned math into a living thing. The Great Pyramid's height, compared to half the base of its square, is almost exactly P. That means its slope echoes the same number you use when you measure a circle. And if you take the length of one of its sides and divide it by its height, you find F, this number that seems to guide shells, flowers, and even our sense of beauty. Imagine knowing all that without a calculator or paper to work on. No rulers that measure beyond a few feet. Yet they cut and placed blocks weighing tons, aligning each edge with care that seems almost impossible. When you feel the cold of early morning before an exam, you might sketch out formulas in your mind or pace the floor trying to wrap your head around a tricky problem. Those feelings of focus and wonder are not so different from what the pyramid builders felt. They watched shadows trace along the ground at sunrise and sunset. They marked the passing of seasons with simple sticks and shadows. From these observations, they found a way to weave P and F into stone. In today's world, you might build a model for a class project using plastic rods and a glue gun. You measure angles with a protractor and hope it's just right. If it's off by a degree or two, your model wobbles or it collapses. So you start again, adjusting little by little until it feels stable. The ancients did something similar, but on a scale that's hard to imagine. They divided their work into 40 years. They gathered limestone and granite, quarried from far away, and even transported heavy beams by boat along the Nile. Day after day they observed the sky, they adjusted stones, and they whispered prayers. Their lives were filled with simple routines, shared meals of bread and onions, songs sung as they hauled blocks, children watching from a distance. All the while they sighted lines between stars and ground, trying to capture something eternal. We see perfection in a child's drawing when the shapes just fit. A square drawn by a 5-year-old might wobble, but it feels special because we know it's honest. The pyramid's perfection carries a similar honesty. It says, "We tried to catch a secret we saw in the stars." When you feel the warmth of your tea on a cold day, you might think it's just a drink, but that warmth reminds you of sunlight, of summer days, of hope. Math can be like that too. A formula is not just numbers. It's a bridge between an idea and reality. The Great Pyramid's builders weren't simply copying a textbook formula. They were looking at the world and asking, how can we hold this beauty in our hands? Their answer was a towering monument that echoes both P and F. In relationships, we talk about balance. You adjust how much you give and receive to keep things steady. When you listen more than you talk, the other person feels heard. When you speak at the right time, you build trust. That balance is a bit like ratios in math. F is often called the golden ratio because artists and architects long ago felt it created harmony. When you look at a well-composed photo, you might not see the golden ratio, but your mind feels it. You feel calm, you feel drawn in. The pyramid does that too. Its outlines seem to rise so gently into the sky, as if it is inviting you to step inside its calm. From a broader view, this idea connects to belief. We believe that math is a language given to us, a gift that lets us share ideas across time and space. When a mother in a small village counts her goats by making tally marks in the dirt, she's speaking that same universal language. When a student in a city uses algebra to find the area of a lot before planting a garden, they speak the same language. The Great Pyramid is a silent poem in that universal tongue. And that touches our mental health too. When you feel overwhelmed, you might find comfort in knowing there are patterns, like breathing in and out, something predictable, something real. The pyramid's lines offer a sense of order in a world that often feels chaotic. When you feel loss, you might grasp for something steady. This monument stands steady through storms, through hot days, through sandstorms that can last days. It stays, reminding us that patterns endure. Even AI is drawn to these patterns. When engineers teach machines to see shapes and faces, they use math. They tell robots to look for edges, to note angles, to measure distances. And the machines learn. One day, perhaps, they will learn from the Great Pyramid too, how to sense perfection in imperfection, how to feel the whisper of a ratio in the wind. As we stand here in our modern lives, with devices buzzing and deadlines looming, the pyramid asks us to pause. It invites us to look at a leaf, notice how its spiral grows, and feel the same quiet joy that comes when math and art touch. It asks us to slow down and see that math is not just for tests or machines, it's a way of connecting with something larger, a bridge to the heavens. Now that you've walked through this ancient lesson, take a moment to breathe. If you felt a spark of wonder, share it below. Let us know where you are, how this idea of mathematical perfection echoes in your life. And if you'd like to keep exploring these calm mysteries, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. In our next videos, we will wander through more of these quiet wonders, reminders that sometimes a simple number can touch our hearts and guide us home. Alien Blueprint Theory. Imagine standing under a clear night sky, the Milky Way stretching overhead like spilled glitter, and wondering if someone or something guided us from above. Before we explore, take a moment to breathe. Feel your feet on the ground. If you're comfortable, drop a quick comment and let us know where you're watching from. It's special to see how this mystery connects people from all over the world. If this journey feels calming and curious, please give this video a like and subscribe. Then we'll dive in together. Have you ever tried to draw a map of your neighborhood from memory? You remember the big oak tree near your house, the corner, store, perhaps the shape of the nearby pond. But when you draw it on paper, the distances can feel off. The tree might sit too close to the pond, or the store might be a little too far. That simple feeling of, I almost have it, but not exactly, is something each of us knows. Now imagine trying to draw a map of a vast desert plateau from memory, without ever flying above it. No drone, no bird's eye view, just eyes, hands, and maybe a simple rope. And yet, more than 4,000 years ago, someone, or many people, drafted a blueprint that resulted in the Great Pyramid's flawless shape. How did they do it? Think of a time when you felt certain you had enough information, but then you realized you missed something crucial. Maybe you studied for an exam by reading notes and believed you understood the topic, but on test day the questions were different. That moment of confusion pushes you to ask new questions. In the same way, modern researchers look at the pyramid and wonder, how did they draft such perfect plans? There were no satellites, no airplanes, no modern survey instruments. Just simple tools, ropes, plumb bobs, sighting poles, and human ingenuity. Yet the design is so precise that even our advanced computers nod in approval. When the weather changes suddenly, you might be caught without an umbrella. One minute the sky's blue, the next, rain pours down. That surprise shows how quickly conditions can shift. In ancient Egypt, builders had to work with shifting sands and searing heat. Still, they managed to keep lines straight and angles true. Picture a group of people standing under the blazing sun, a stick in the sand marking north, another marking east. They watch the sun rise, marking the shadows that point exactly toward true north. Day after day, they adjust their measurements, trusting the movement of the sky to guide them. Over years, they refine their plans until they hold in their minds a mental image so clear it feels like a blueprint handed down from the heavens. In relationships, we sometimes sense what the other person needs without a word. Maybe your friend is upset, and you know just the right thing to say. That sense comes from paying attention, watching small cues, listening to tone and body language. The pyramid builders paid attention too. They watched the stars. They observed how the sun moved across the sky. They studied the Nile's floods and the shifting sands. Each of these gave them clues about alignment and proportion. Over many seasons, their knowledge became so precise it felt almost uncanny. It's easy to think maybe an ancient alien flew above in a craft and sketched the outline. That idea is fascinating because it combines mystery and wonder, but even without turning to outer space, there's another possibility. Human minds working together can achieve amazing things. Think about building a sandcastle with friends. On the beach, you start with a simple bucket. One person packs sand, another carves walls, someone else fetches water. Alone, you might make a handful of sand shapes. Together, you can sculpt towers and moats that survive the tide for a while. The pyramid is like that, only magnified 1,000 times. Hundreds or perhaps thousands of workers worked in unison. Each knew their part. Each trusted in the shared vision, like dancers following steps they learned together. No single person had to see the whole pattern from above. Together, they held that pattern in their minds and in their hearts. Belief played a key role. In our everyday lives, belief and hope can push us to do things we thought impossible. Think of someone training for a marathon. They run day after day, even when their legs ache, because they believe in the goal. They imagine crossing that finish line. That belief is a powerful blueprint, guiding each step. The ancient Egyptians believed their pharaoh would join the gods in the sky after death. That belief drove them to create a monument that echoed the heavens. Each stone placed was a step toward something bigger, a path leading upward, even if no one saw the final form until it was already standing. Language also shapes our reality. When you explain an idea to someone, you choose words carefully to match their understanding. If you say, "Turn right at the big tree," they know exactly what you mean. The builders had their own way of speaking about measurements and directions, words, and gestures passed down by teachers to apprentices. They counted in simple units, cubits, palms, and fingers. They used knotted ropes to mark exact lengths. Each knot was like a letter in a story, telling workers where to dig, where to cut, where to place. That shared language, woven into everyday tools, created a silent dialogue that spanned the desert. No need for complex manuals, just the trust, born from shared words and shared purpose. On a deeper level, the alien blueprint idea touches mental health. When we feel lost, we sometimes imagine someone else guiding us, a mentor, a parent, or an unseen hand. That imagined guide can give us hope and courage. The pyramid's flawless design makes us wonder if there was an unseen hand guiding the builders. But perhaps the true guide was their shared purpose and their faith. That faith, like a calming voice in a storm, held them steady. Today, when we face uncertainty, we can remember how they held on to their shared dream, building each block with care and intention. That calm determination can become our own guide in times of doubt. Even artificial intelligence learns from patterns. When engineers teach a computer to recognize faces, they show it thousands of images, helping it find the hidden rules that make one face a face. The pyramid builders, in a sense, programmed their own ancient AI by teaching generations of workers the patterns of alignment and proportion. Instead of digital codes, they used memories and stories. Each new worker learned from older ones. They watched how lines were drawn in the sand, how angles were checked by watching stars circle the North Star at night. They practiced over and over until those patterns became second nature. As we sit here in our modern world with screens glowing and notifications buzzing, the pyramid invites us to pause. It asks us to remember how simple tools, shared goals, and belief can create wonders. It reminds us that we don't always need a bird's-eye view to see the whole picture. Sometimes, we need only trust the process. One stone at a time, one measurement at a time, one day at a time. What does this mystery mean to you? Have you ever worked on a project where you felt the unseen hand of intention guiding you? Share your thoughts in the comments, and let us connect in this moment of wonder. If this gentle exploration stirred your curiosity or brought you calm, please click like, subscribe, and ring the bell. More ancient mysteries await, each one a whisper from the past, inviting us to listen, to learn, and to dream. Impossible precision cuts. Have you ever picked up a puzzle piece and marveled at how it fits perfectly into its place? Imagine that feeling magnified 1,000 times over, each stone block in the Great Pyramid fitting with laser-like accuracy, though lasers would not exist for thousands more years. Before we journey into this mystery, take a gentle breath. Feel the ground beneath you. If you would, leave a comment sharing where you're watching from. There is a quiet beauty in knowing we gather from different corners of the world. If you find comfort in these stories of ancient wonders, please give this video a like and consider subscribing. Now, let's step into the calm but astonishing world of stone. So perfectly cut it almost feels impo. Think back to a time when you crafted something with your own hands, a simple wooden shelf or perhaps a paper model. You measured carefully, cut along a line, and felt a quiet thrill when two edges met exactly. That moment of fitting something just right reminds us how precise. Craftsmanship can be deeply satisfying. In our modern lives, we have power tools, laser cutters, and digital plans on screens. Even with these, creating a perfect fit demands time, patience, and skill. But ancient Egyptian builders did this without power tools or digital designs. They carved and shaped stones so that you could not slip a thin blade between them. The deck seams are nearly invisible. That precision has left scholars wondering, how did they manage it? On a warm day, you might trace your finger along a seam in a wooden table and feel tiny imperfections. It reminds you of the human touch, like a small signature. But the Great Pyramid stones do not give us such a signature. The edges are so smooth that even under candlelight, the seams hide in shadow. The blocks, some weighing as much as a small car, sit so flush that rain drips away without finding a gap. In everyday life, you might fill a tiny crack in your wall with putty to keep out drafts. The ancient builders did something like that, but on a scale of millions of cubic feet of stone and without modern fillers. Imagine you are in a pottery class shaping clay on a wheel. The clay spins, and with quiet focus, you smooth its surface until it's nearly flawless. You learn that the secret is small, steady movements, slow, repeated strokes that erase the bumps. The pyramid builders used a similar approach. They began with rough blocks of limestone or granite quarried from nearby cliffs or carried down the Nile in boats. These raw blocks might have had jagged edges or uneven surfaces. To transform them, workers used copper chisels, dolerite hammers, and abrasive sand. They chipped away at high spots, then used rubbing stones to polish edges and corners. It was like sanding wood, but on a monolith. Each block was tested again and again, reset and retrimmed until it fit so precisely that when the next block was set beside it, not a grain of sand could slip through. Consider a time when you sewed a piece of clothing. You pin the fabric, cut along the seam, and stitch slowly, checking that the pieces align. A tiny miscut can warp the whole garment. The pyramid's builders did this on a massive scale. They marked each block with simple red ochre lines, like drawing guidelines with a pencil. Teams worked with a shared language of measurement. A cubit was about the length of an arm from elbow to fingertip. They used knotted ropes to measure straight lines. If a block needed trimming, one artisan might chip away while another watched the lines, ensuring each cut stayed true. The process was slow and meditative. Each block became an exercise in patience and care, as if the stone itself was whispering, "Take your time, get it right." In our daily lives, we face tasks that require precision, from cooking a perfect recipe to setting up a reliable budget. When we measure ingredients carefully, our cake rises evenly. If we miscalculate, it flops. That same principle guided the pyramid's construction. If one block sat even a fraction off, it could throw off the entire course of stones above it. So workers began with the base. They laid the first course of stones with extreme care, ensuring each corner was level within a few millimeters, without laser levels or spirit bubbles. They used water-filled trenches as simple leveling guides. When water stands still, its surface is level everywhere. Workers poured water into a trough between stones. When it spread evenly, they knew the blocks sat flush. It's a humble trick, like filling a small pan to check if your table is flat. But on that scale, it required endless refills and slow adjustments. When you study for an important exam, you might review flashcards, taking time to memorize each fact perfectly. The pyramid builders memorized patterns too, how each block related to its neighbors. They developed a collective memory passed down through apprenticeships. An apprentice might watch a master craftsman mark, cut, and fit a single block over weeks or months. That knowledge transferred from person to person, as if the memory of each cut lived in the hands of every worker. By the time the next block was nearly ready, the team had already internalized the subtle shifts required to fit it into the growing monument. It's like learning a dance, step by step. Each move becomes second nature until the dancers can flow without thinking. This idea of collective memory connects to belief. When a community believes deeply in a shared purpose, they can accomplish tasks that seem impossible. Think of how sports teams channel collective focus when they play, passing the ball, anticipating a move, filling in gaps without uttering a word. In ancient Egypt, building the pyramid was not just a job, it was a spiritual act. Workers believed they were helping the pharaoh ascend to the gods. Each stone was more than a block. It was a piece of a divine puzzle. That belief infused their work with a sense of meaning. They might have felt guided by unseen hands, and that feeling gave them the confidence to strive for perfection without modern tools. Our language carries hints of this longing for precision. We talk about having our ducks in a row, or keeping our ducks aligned. We praise craftsmanship when we say, "It fits like a glove." Those phrases show how deeply we value exactness. Imagine if you bought a glove that didn't quite fit. Too tight in one finger, too loose in another. You'd be frustrated. So when a pair fits perfectly, you feel relief and delight. The pyramid's builders sought that relief across millions of stone cuts. They reached for a harmony between human effort and natural materials, a quiet symphony of stone that feels just right. Mental health can benefit from that same harmony. When our lives feel chaotic, deadlines piling up, worries buzzing, finding a simple, precise task can be soothing. Folding laundry, arranging books, or drawing straight lines can calm an anxious mind. The pyramid builders, despite the grand scale, engaged in those calming, precise tasks every day. Chipping a small piece of stone might have felt like a meditation. Each tap of the hammer, each gentle polish could bring a moment of quiet focus, a break from the desert's heat and noise. That mindful care likely nourished their spirits as much as it built the monument. Even AI systems today aim for precision. Engineers train them on millions of images so they can recognize objects accurately. Yet, AI sometimes struggles with tiny details. A shadow might look like a different shape. The ancient builders solved a similar problem with simple yet brilliant methods. They tested each cut directly on the neighboring blocks, adjusting until they sensed it was right. A modern computer might run millions of computations to find a perfect match. The craftsmen ran their own computations through touch and sight. Their eyes became like precise sensors, their hands like fine-tuned tools, all working together to reduce error to almost zero. As you sit here in your space, perhaps with a cup of tea or a soft light nearby, consider how small, precise actions shape our worlds. When you write a heartfelt note, you choose each word carefully. When you play a musical instrument, you practice scales until your fingers move without thought. Those small actions matter. They remind us that beauty and precision can emerge from patience and care. The Great Pyramid stands as a testament to that truth, carved at a pace we can barely imagine, yet born from quiet, steady work. Now, as you breathe out and settle into this moment, I invite you to share your thoughts. Have you ever worked on something requiring careful precision? Perhaps a craft, a project, or a hobby? Let us know in the comments and tell us where you are. Your story could inspire someone halfway around the globe. If this exploration brought you calm or wonder, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. In our next journey, we will follow more trails of stone, sand, and silent genius, discovering how our ancestors shaped the world with patient hands and hearts full of purpose. 21st century tools? Have you ever held a tool in your hand and felt its power, only to wonder if you could ever understand where it came from? Imagine walking through a desert wind, sand beneath your sandals, when suddenly you spot a chunk of metal shaped with a precision that seems too fine for its time. Before we wander deeper into this puzzle, take a gentle breath. Feel your feet on the ground, and if you're comfortable, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. It's comforting to know people from every corner of the world share these quiet moments of wonder. If you find this story soothing or stirring, please give this video a like and subscribe. Then let's gently explore how some ancient tools look as if they belong in our century, not theirs. Think about the last time you used a power drill. You pressed a button, and the bit spun smoothly, cutting through wood or metal with ease. Now imagine that you needed to carve hard stone without electricity, without batteries, without any modern bits. How would you do it? In everyday life, we reach for simple tools: scissors to cut paper, a spoon to stir tea, a phone to call a friend. We trust these tools because we understand how they work. But in the heart of the Giza Plateau, archaeologists have found items that seem to challenge our understanding. Copper tools with edges so clean they look like they were made by machines. Drill bits coated in quartz that could cut through granite as if it were soft clay. It's as if someone handed ancient workers a gift from the future. Remember a time when you tried to build something with limited supplies, maybe a small shelf or a picture frame, and realized your tools just wouldn't reach the corners the way you needed. You improvised with what you had, filing a nail to shape a hook, or using a sturdy rock to hammer a nail loose. The builders of the Great Pyramid had similar challenges, but on a grand scale. Stone blocks weighing as much as a car needed to be, cut, shaped, and smoothed. They used copper saws, dolerite pounders, and sand as an abrasive. Yet, some of the copper saws show signs of being combined with tin or arsenic, making the metal harder than pure copper. The drill bits, tipped with quartz crystals, left behind holes in granite so uniform that it's hard to believe they were made without something like an electric drill turning at thousands of rotations per minute. In relationships, we sometimes face a similar paradox. You might know someone for years and think you understand them. Then they do something that surprises you so deeply it feels like you're meeting them again for the first time. That sense of disbelief can be both unsettling and exciting. The tools we find at Giza feel a bit like that. They whisper, "There is more here than meets the eye." When scholars first examined these items, they asked, how did they get such clean edges? How did they avoid chipping the stone? They discovered drill holes so round and so smooth that even modern diamond-tipped bits would nod in approval. Yet these holes were carved over 4,000 years ago. No electricity, no lasers, just human hands and a mix of copper, stone, and sand. Let's pause and connect this to our own lives. Have you ever studied for a big test, feeling confident you knew every fact, and then found a question you never prepared for? That moment can shake your faith in your own efforts, but it can also inspire you to study deeper. In the same way, finding tools that seem too advanced for their era shakes our faith in traditional history. It invites us to look deeper, to question our assumptions. Perhaps we assume our ancestors were less clever than we are. Yet stone cutters of old knew how to harness simple materials, sand and water, wood and copper, to achieve results we still find astonishing. Belief, after all, shapes how we see the world. If we believe ancient people were primitive, we might miss their genius. If we take the time to learn their methods, we discover a quiet wisdom in their work. Language carries clues, too. We speak of cutting-edge technology and power tools, implying strength and novelty. But cutting and shaping were once a slow, deliberate art. Workers would drill a single hole in granite by rotating a copper tube back and forth with sticks, dipping it in sand to act as an abrasive. It might take hours to bore a few inches. Yet, the result was so smooth that even under a modern magnifying glass, the edges look polished. In our modern tongue, we say shaving details to mean paying attention to the smallest parts. The pyramid builders did precisely that. Each hole, each groove, each polished surface shows they cared about every tiny detail, as if the stone spoke to them and guided their hands. In our fast world, where we often tell ourselves, "I don't have time," their patience reminds us how much can be achieved when we slow down and embrace the process. On a deeper level, this mystery touches mental health. When we feel overwhelmed by tasks we believe are impossible, our minds can freeze, telling us we can't succeed. But when we see someone pick up a tool and, with calm focus, create something incredible, like a carved granite block that fits without a gap, we remember that patience and quiet determination can conquer the impossible. The pyramid's builders did not rush. They worked in teams, taking turns. One person turned the drill, another added sand, a third watched for straightness. They sang songs to keep their rhythm. They took breaks to eat bread and onions, to rest in the shade. Their work was both physical and meditative. They found meaning in each precise cut. That mindset can help us today when we face our own challenges. Instead of trying to drill through a problem all at once, we can break it into small steps, each one bringing us closer to our goal. Even AI systems learn from patterns that humans barely notice. The algorithms that recognize faces or drive cars study millions of examples to find hidden rules. In a way, the pyramid's builders were like the earliest pattern seekers. They observed how copper, stone, and sand interacted. They noted how a slow, steady motion yielded the best cuts. They learned over generations to refine their tools. Today, engineers might study those ancient methods to create tools that use less energy or that can work in remote places without electricity. The lessons from Giza remind us that sometimes the best solutions come from blending old wisdom with new ideas. As you sit here, maybe with a warm cup of tea or a soft light beside you, take a moment to breathe. Think of a tool you use every day. A spoon that stirs your morning coffee, a keyboard that shapes your words, or a brush that paints your thoughts. Each tool carries a silent story, connecting you to its maker. The copper drill bits found at Giza carry a story too, stretched across centuries. They beckon us to slow down, to listen, and to learn from the past. They whisper that the human heart has always reached for precision, even when the path seemed impossible. If this quietly astonishing tale touched you, please share your thoughts in the comments. Let us know where you are listening from, and whether you've ever worked with a tool that felt like magic. Your voice matters. Each comment threads us together, and if this journey into ancient wonders brought you calm or sparked your curiosity, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell for our next gentle exploration. More mysteries await, each one a reminder that sometimes The tools of our past can whisper secrets to guide our future. Global pyramid pattern. Have you ever noticed how, across the world, people in different places build similar shapes without ever meeting each other? Before we dive in, take a moment to pause. Feel the chair beneath you. If you're comfortable, drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. It's inspiring to see faces from diverse corners of the globe united by curiosity. And if this journey into ancient mysteries brings you calm, please give this video a like and subscribe so we can wander these wonders together. Now, picture yourself standing beside a small, humble pyramid in Mesoamerica, its stone steps rising gently toward the sky. Then imagine traveling halfway around the world to Giza, Egypt, and seeing a vast pyramid with smooth sides reaching the heavens in a different way. Both monuments tell a similar story in stone, crafted by people who never knew of each other's existence. How did they arrive at the same idea, separated by thousands of miles and centuries? Think back to a time when you solved a problem using a simple trick you learned from someone else, maybe how to fold paper into a perfect airplane, or how to time your cooking so dinner is ready just as guests arrive. We often pass these small lessons from friend to friend without anyone thinking it's special. It feels natural. In many parts of the world, building a pyramid, layering stones or earth in a step pattern, may have been a straightforward solution. Start with a wide base for stability, then narrow the structure as you rise to conserve materials and effort. When a local leader or priest thought, "I need a lasting monument," people could build in steps, each layer smaller than the one below. Over time, that basic design spread, not because of a grand plan, but because it simply worked. Like learning to make a fire by rubbing sticks together, the idea of a pyramid emerges from practical needs: strength, space, and a desire to reach skyward. On a rainy day, you might look for a shelter that is both easy to build and strong against wind and water. You put up a triangle of sticks and cover it with leaves. The triangular shape deflects rain, keeps the center dry, and uses minimal materials. That triangle is the simplest pyramid, stable and protective. In colder climates, people built log cabins with slanted roofs for the same reason. Across Africa, South America, and Asia, stepping stones of this idea created pyramids of mud, brick, and stone. No mystery, just a shared human instinct to create something that lasts. So when we find similar shapes carved on different lands, it is like spotting a friend's hairstyle at a party miles away. It feels surprising, but there is a simple reason behind it. Yet, even if the basic idea of a pyramid is practical, the details often surprise us. The pyramids at Teotihuacan in Mexico are oriented toward the setting sun on specific days, while those in Egypt align to the cardinal points with mathematical precision. Builders in Sudan created pyramids that are taller and slimmer, with steep angles that seem to defy gravity. Each culture took the basic pyramid form and made it their own, adding meaning and craftsmanship. Think about when you speak to two friends who both love cooking. One makes stew using a family recipe passed down for generations, while the other experiments adding spices after watching a cooking show. Both dishes share core ingredients: onions, water, salt, but the final taste reflects different traditions and details. Pyramids, too, share a basic recipe, stacked layers, but each culture's version carries a unique flavor of belief, purpose, and technique. Belief plays a quiet role in this global pattern. When you believe there is something sacred at the top of a mountain, whether a deity or simply the majesty of the view, you climb toward it, step by step. For many ancient peoples, a pyramid was more than a tomb or a temple. It was a bridge between earth and sky, a ladder for the spirit. In Egypt, the pyramid was a means for the pharaoh's soul to ascend to the stars. In Mesoamerica, pyramids were stages for rituals, places where priests performed ceremonies to bring sun, rain, or fertility. Even in faraway Nubia, pyramids marked the resting places of powerful kings and queens. Each builder's belief shaped the size, angle, and orientation of their pyramid. When beliefs align, even across oceans, they leave similar patterns in the landscape. Language, too, carries echoes of this shared human instinct. We speak of climbing the ladder of success, stepping up, and reaching new heights. These phrases mirror the pyramid's shape in our minds. When you encourage a friend, you might say, just take it one step at a time. A pyramid is literally that, step upon step, each one leading upward. Our words reflect deep-seated ideas about growth and progress. In ancient times, those ideas took shape in stone. Though they did not share a single language, pyramids across continents speak the same silent tongue, the language of steps, ascent, and reaching for something higher than ourselves. In relationships, we see patterns too. Two people from different backgrounds might solve a shared problem, like finding shade under the noon sun, by building simple shelters. Though they never met, their solutions look strikingly similar. We call this common sense, shared understanding, that arises from facing similar challenges. Ancient builders faced a fundamental challenge: how to create a monument that withstands storms, floods, and the passage of time. The pyramid form answered that challenge in many places. It was a shape that could stand for millennia, visible from afar, like a signal. And so, even without contact, separate cultures arrived at that same answer. Yet the global pyramid pattern also touches deeper themes, like how we view ourselves in the world. When the wind blows gently through trees on a quiet afternoon, you might feel a connection to every person who has stood before a great monument. You sense that we are part of a shared story. The pyramids whisper this story. They remind us that, at our core, we are builders. We shape stones, words, and ideas to leave traces of our lives. We recognize that each pyramid, though unique, reflects a universal human longing to be remembered, to reach for the sky, and to stand firm against time. From a mental health perspective, these structures can offer comfort. Standing before a pyramid, you might feel small, but you also feel connected to builders long gone, to cultures that rose and fell, and to all the people who walk this earth today. That perspective can ease the weight of daily worries. When you face a tough challenge, an exam, a job change, or health concerns, remember that countless souls have faced their own pyramids of problems. They built step by step, brick by brick, and so can you. The pyramid's quiet presence teaches patience. It says, slow progress is still progress. Each step counts. Even AI reflects this pattern of shared solutions. When engineers program a machine to recognize shapes, it learns that certain forms, triangles, squares, circles, appear over and over. The pyramids, when viewed from above, are perfect triangles or squares. An AI trained on images of buildings might instantly tag a pyramid, whether it's in Egypt or Peru. In that way, modern machines echo the ancient builders' instinct to find simple, stable forms that stand the test of time. The global pyramid pattern is, in essence, a lesson for us all. Some solutions are so clear, so practical, that multiple minds will discover them independently. As you sit here, perhaps with a warm drink or a soft light beside you, take a moment to let this sink in. The next time you see a simple triangular shape, whether in a logo, a painting, or a shelf, remember the builders who centuries ago shaped that same form with their own hands and hearts. Their silent monuments still speak to us, teaching us about unity, purpose, and the quiet power of simple ideas. If this reflection touched you, please share your thoughts below. Let us know where you are watching from so we can see how far these pyramids connect us. And if you feel inspired, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. There are more wonders to explore, each one a gentle reminder that across time and space, our shared impulses can create something beautiful, lasting, and deeply human. The Lost Capstone. Imagine standing at the foot of the Great Pyramid and realizing that its crown, once shining with gold, is now gone, leaving a silent gap at its peak that feels like a missing heartbeat in an ancient song. Before we venture further, take a moment to breathe and feel your feet on the ground. If you feel like it, share where you're watching from in the comments below. It's wonderful to know how many of us, scattered across the globe, find ourselves drawn to this mystery. If you enjoy this gentle exploration, please give the video a like and subscribe so we can keep wandering these wonders together. Now, picture the pyramid in its full glory. Every side smooth and gleaming under the sun, its capstone, known as the pyramidion, covered in polished gold or electrum, reflecting light across the desert plains. Astronomers say that at sunrise and sunset, it would have glowed like the rising sun itself, a beacon you could see for miles. But that shining piece is gone, taken perhaps by time or by hands seeking treasure. Where did it go? Why did someone remove the very thing that made this monument a bridge between earth and sky? Think of a time when you lost something small but precious. Maybe you misplaced a favorite ring or a well-worn book. You searched every corner, retracing your steps, wondering if it slipped from your pocket or got left behind on a bus. That moment of emptiness can sting, a feeling that something you loved, something that held meaning, is now a void. The pyramidion's absence feels the same way. It's not just a missing stone, it's a vanished crown that once spoke of divine power and the promise of eternity. Over centuries, winds blew sand against the pyramid's sides, and travelers climbed its slopes in search of souvenirs. Some say that during the Middle Ages, when Egypt was ruled by different dynasties, soldiers or treasure hunters pried the capstone loose, hoping to melt its metal for coin. Others say it might have been stolen earlier, perhaps shortly after the pyramid's construction, when resources and loyalties shifted. Today, we see only the rough top, a leftover sense that something sacred once sat there. In our everyday lives, we sometimes leave a piece of ourselves behind, an unfinished conversation, a plan we never carried out, a dream left unpursued. That sense of a missing piece can haunt us, just as the pyramid's top haunts the desert. We might look at our own gaps and wonder how life would feel if those spaces were filled. Sometimes finding that missing piece brings relief. Other times, we realize the gap taught us something we needed to learn. For the builders, that gleaming capstone was more than just decoration. It symbolized the Egyptian belief in the union of king and god, a physical point where heaven and earth met. In relationships, we speak of a missing piece of the puzzle, a partner or friend who makes us feel whole. We say, "Love completes me," or "I feel empty without you." In those words lies the same longing that shaped the pyramidion, a desire for connection, a yearning for something that bridges two worlds. Over time, whispers of the lost capstone wove into stories and songs. Travelers passing by spoke of legendary treasure, imagining the weight of gold they could claim. It's like hearing rumors of a secret ingredient in your grandmother's recipe. No one knows exactly what it was, but everyone swears it made the dish special. That mystery draws people in, inciting dreams of discovery and prompting debates. Among scholars, some insist the capstone still lies buried beneath rubble, waiting to be unearthed. Others say it was melted down long ago, becoming part of coins or jewelry in ancient markets. Neither theory can be proven without digging into layers of sand and stone, risking damage to the very monument we seek to understand. In that uncertain space, our imagination fills the void, creating stories that reflect our hopes, fears, and wonder. Belief threads through this mystery like a silver cord. Ancient Egyptians believed that the pyramidion was the place where the pharaoh spirit could ascend to the sky, joining the sun god Ra. When you feel a gentle warmth on your face during sunrise, you might think of new beginnings, another chance to start fresh. For them, the golden tip was a beacon guiding the pharaoh's soul, a symbol of eternal life. In our own lives, we often look for symbols, a lucky charm, a family heirloom, or a simple flower that reminds us of someone we love. We invest these things with meaning, hoping they carry us through hard times. The pyramidion carried that hope for a culture. Its loss reminds us how delicate symbols can be, how easily time can erode the objects we hold dear. Language shapes how we talk about this missing piece. We say crown jewel as a way of naming a most treasured item. In business or sports, we call the most prized asset the crown jewel of an organization. Those words carry the weight of gold and power, hinting at something rare and irreplaceable. The Pyramidion was the literal crown jewel of the Great Pyramid, and when it vanished, it left a nomenclature gap, an emptiness in our history books. We try to describe that emptiness in words: lost, missing, stolen. But words can only hint at the feeling of looking up at a peak that used to hold the light of a setting sun. They remind us how language can capture an idea, but seldom the emotion it carries. Mental health can also echo this sense of loss. When we experience grief, whether from the passing of a loved one, the end of a relationship, or a dream shattered, we often feel a hollow place inside, as if a part of our identity has vanished. That emptiness can feel like standing before the Great Pyramid without its capstone, a missing spark that once shone so brightly. But grief also carries the potential for growth. Over time, the raw pain softens, and we find new ways to honor what we lost. We might plant a tree, write a poem, or share a story that keeps a memory alive. In that way, the missing capstone teaches us that even when something is gone, its memory can guide us forward, inspiring us to create meaning from absence. In our modern world, technology and AI try to fill gaps in knowledge by piecing together fragments of data. Machines can analyze satellite images, scanning the pyramid's peak for clues hidden beneath centuries of dust. They can reconstruct 3D models, predicting how the capstone might have looked based on wear patterns and comparison to smaller pyramids that still have their tips. Yet, no amount of computation can fully replace the feeling of standing in the desert, eyes tracing the pyramid's smooth sides until they reach that flat, rough top. The machines offer theories and images, but the heart of the mystery still rests in human wonder. We remain the interpreters of these silent stones, finding in their loss a story that speaks to our shared longing for connection, for something beyond this life. Imagine how it felt for the craftsman who placed that capstone, lifting each heavy block, setting it square, sanding its surfaces until it gleamed. They might have thought, "Today we fulfill a promise. Tomorrow, our work stays for ages." Yet even they could not have predicted that one day someone would pry that shining piece away. It's like writing a love letter in a bottle, trusting the ocean to carry it forever, only to realize that waves and time may scatter its pages. The builders planted their hope in that golden stone, and time gently erased it. In that moment, we recognize how fragile our own creations can be. We might build a career, a home, or a dream, believing it will stand unchanged. But as wind and sand reshape stone, life's currents shift our plans. In that shifting, however, lies the chance to discover new paths. Now, as you sit here perhaps, with a soft light or a warm drink, let the lost capstone remind you that absence can hold as much weight as presence. If you've ever lost something precious, a keepsake, a moment, a relationship, know that your experience is a thread connecting you to those ancient builders. Their missing crown speaks to the same human heart that feels joy and sorrow, pride and loss. If this reflection whispers to you, please share your thoughts below. Tell us where you are watching from, and a memory of something you once treasured but no longer have. Your story can bring comfort to someone else who feels that quiet ache of loss. And if this gentle journey brought you a sense of calm or curiosity, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell for our next exploration. More mysteries await. Reminders that, sometimes, what is missing teaches us as much as what remains. Buried chambers below. Imagine standing on the golden sands of Giza, the sun warm on your skin, and feeling a quiet pulse beneath your feet. A secret heartbeat of stone waiting to be heard. Before we begin, take a moment to breathe deeply. Feel your feet on the ground. If you'd like, share where you're watching from in the comments. It's a gentle way to connect, knowing we are scattered across the world but united by curiosity. If this journey feels soothing, consider giving this video a like and subscribing for more. Now, let's descend into the silent depths beneath the Great Pyramid, where hidden rooms lie sealed in darkness, untouched for millennia. Have you ever walked across a familiar floor and sensed a loose board under your foot? Your heart might skip a beat as you wonder what lies beneath. Perhaps old letters, a forgotten trinket, or a hidden passage to another world. That small thrill of mystery is nothing compared to what waits under the Great Pyramid. Deep below its massive base, there are chambers we have not fully explored. These rooms are sealed with stone, silent as a held breath. Archaeologists know they exist because they have felt odd vibrations, gaps in the stone's weight, and even faint echoes when they tap on walls, yet no one has set foot inside for thousands of years. That mystery calls out to us. What stories lie here? What secrets have waited beneath the earth, silent and still? Think of a time when you prepared for an exam by studying hard, only to find a question you never expected. That sudden twist can jolt you, pushing you to question everything you thought you knew. The buried chambers do the same to our understanding. We treasure the known rooms, the king's chamber, the queen's chamber, the grand gallery, because explorers have walked those halls and seen their granite walls. But below, unreachable without careful methods and tools, lie rooms that could change everything we believe about the pyramid. It's like studying for a final and realizing there's another chapter you missed. How would you feel? Anxious? Excited? That mixture of fear and wonder is exactly what archaeologists feel when they imagine the silent, hidden rooms. In daily life, we sometimes hide things to protect them. You might tuck away old letters in a box under your bed or hide a special gift in a closet, safe from prying eyes. Those hidden items hold memories and meaning, things that feel too precious to leave out in the open. The ancient builders of the pyramid may have done the same. Perhaps they built those lower chambers not for treasure we could take out, but for ideas and tools they wanted to keep safe from time. Maybe those rooms held sacred items or texts carved on stone. We cannot be sure. All we know is that the pathways, leading down, are narrow and steep, cut through solid rock, as if they were meant to hide rather than show. When you feel lost in a relationship, you search for clues, words unsaid, actions unexplained, hoping to understand the other person's heart. In the pyramid, we search for clues too. Marks left by chisel strokes, faint traces of paint on the walls, tiny grooves where ropes might have been pulled. Each clue suggests that someone, centuries ago, created those chambers for a purpose. But because those rooms are sealed, the full purpose remains hidden. It's like looking at a letter sealed in an envelope, not sure if it brings good news or sorrow. That tension can be uncomfortable, but it also invites us to wonder. We imagine the builders, their voices low in the dark, lighting torches, carving, each block by hand, and we feel connected to them, because we too carry questions that echo in our own hidden places. Belief shapes how we see these hidden spaces. Some believe those chambers were never meant for pharaohs or treasure. They may have been part of a plan to test a soul's journey through darkness and light, a kind of spiritual passage. Imagine taking a walk in the forest as dusk falls. The path narrows, shadows lengthen, and you feel a thrill of fear mixed with anticipation. At the end, you step into a clearing bathed in moonlight, and everything makes sense again. The buried chambers might serve a similar purpose, an ancient ritual of descent and ascent, of moving from one realm to another. That idea feels strange, yet familiar, because we often talk about hitting rock bottom before we find new strength. We describe our own hidden rooms of the soul, places of quiet struggle where we search for meaning. The pyramid's hidden chambers mirror that journey, carved in stone. Language holds clues to the hidden as well. We speak of inner chambers when referring to our feelings. We say, "Let me into your heart," as if it were a sealed room only loved ones can enter. The pyramid's hidden spaces invite us to think about what lies beneath our own surface. When you take a deep breath and ask yourself, "What have I kept hidden?" you engage in a similar exploration. You might recall an old regret, a dream you never shared, or a passion you buried. Those parts of us, silent as sealed rooms, shape our actions even if we don't speak their names. The pyramid reminds us that beneath every solid surface there may be layers of meaning waiting to be discovered. In modern times, AI systems sift through data to find hidden patterns, chat logs, photos, archives, seeking connections we might miss. They detect faint signals in noise, bringing buried information into view. Archaeologists use similar tools: ground-penetrating radar, microgravity sensors, and tiny robotic cameras that explore narrow shafts. Yet, even with our tech, the pyramid's hidden rooms remain largely silent. The scanners show empty spaces, but they cannot read inscriptions on the walls or reveal tiny artifacts that might lie hidden in a corner. To see those, we need to send a tiny robot in. Then we hope it can survive the dark, rough passage and return with a tiny camera, like a brave explorer shining a torch in the unseen. Mental health often challenges us to explore our hidden rooms. Sometimes we avoid looking inside because we fear what we might find: pain from the past, a passion we let fade, a truth we never spoke. But when we gather courage and peer inside, we often find understanding and healing. Similarly, when archaeologists carefully peer into those buried chambers, they might find objects or inscriptions that explain more about how the pyramid was built, who built it, or why. Each piece of knowledge can bring a sense of completion, like finding that missing puzzle piece that makes the picture whole. Every hidden room has a story. It might tell of a worker who carved a heartfelt message, or a sacred object placed to guard against time. In our own lives, we collect notes, keepsakes, and memories that rest in quiet corners. An old photo under your pillow, a letter in a drawer, a song recorded on a dusty tape. When we rediscover those items, we feel a rush of emotion: nostalgia, joy, pain, wonder. The buried chambers could hold similar treasures. Imagine a small box carved from wood, sealed with resin, sitting on a stone shelf in the darkness for millennia. Inside might be a tool, a simple offering of bread and water, or a small statue of a deity. That single object could shift our understanding of an entire civilization, like finding a long-lost letter that changes how you see your family's history. As you imagine those silent chambers, consider what hidden rooms might lie in your own world. Maybe it's a childhood dream you never pursued. Maybe it's a conversation you rehearsed but never had. When we acknowledge those hidden spaces, we offer them light. We bring them into our story. And sometimes, that light is enough to heal, enough to guide us forward. The Great Pyramids, hidden rooms, invite us to do the same, to recognize that even the most solid walls can have secrets, and that exploring those secrets can bring clarity and peace. If this gentle exploration touched something in your heart, please share your thoughts below. Let us know where you are listening from and whether you've ever discovered a hidden corner in your own life. Your story might connect with someone else's in a way that brings comfort. And if you feel a spark of wonder, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. More mysteries await, each one a silent room waiting to be opened with curiosity, care, and calm. Echoes in stone. Imagine stepping into a quiet, dimly lit chamber and hearing a whisper bounce back at you, as if the walls themselves remembered ancient voices. Before we explore this mystery, take a slow, gentle breath and feel your connection to this moment. If you're comfortable, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Knowing we share this curiosity from all corners of the world brings us closer. If you find calm in these explorations, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing, and let's begin our journey into sound and silence. Have you ever been in an empty church on a rainy day, listening to raindrops patter on stained glass, windows as the space seems to magnify every tiny noise? Or maybe you spoke into a canyon on a late afternoon hike and heard your own voice return, softer but unmistakable, as an echo. These simple moments reveal how sound can dance in special spaces, sometimes surprising us with unexpected clarity or warmth. In the Great Pyramid of Giza, there are rooms, small niches and long corridors, where sound behaves in ways that feel almost magical. Researchers walking through the Grand Gallery have placed speakers in certain niches and discovered that tones, played there, echo back with a resonance that seems unnatural for such an enclosed stone space. A simple hum can build into a low, steady vibration that you feel in your chest. This has led some to ask, Were these chambers designed to amplify sound, to create a vibration that carried meaning far beyond mere echoes? In our daily lives, we rarely notice acoustics unless we deliberately pay attention. Think of sitting in a classroom during a soft-spoken lecture, wishing the teacher's voice could carry better across the room. You might lean forward, straining to catch every word. Or recall a time when you whispered a secret into a loved one's ear and felt a thrill as the closeness magnified every syllable. Those moments show how important sound is for connection. Similarly, the pyramid's chambers may have been crafted to foster a special kind of connection between people, between earth and sky, perhaps even between the living and the divine. When you study for an exam, you might read a page aloud, noticing how the sound helps you remember. Your voice, bouncing off walls in a small study room, can boost your focus and calm your nerves. In the pyramid, a priest or pharaoh's voice might have filled a chamber with sacred chants, the vibration designed to resonate in specific frequencies that touched the heart and mind. We imagine artisans testing each cut of stone, guiding workers by ear until each block fit so perfectly that sound waves traveled without losing energy. That simple idea, sound carried intentionally in stone, paints a picture of people who listened not only with their ears, but with their spirits. In relationships, we often speak of tone as more important than words. Saying "I'm fine" can mean relief or heartbreak, depending on how it's said. When a friend laughs in a large hall, the echo can lift the mood, making the space itself feel alive. When someone speaks in a whisper during a tense conversation, the hush draws you in, making every word feel precious. The pyramid's designers may have understood that power of tone. They might have shaped chambers so that certain prayers or chants felt more profound, touching the soul. This idea invites us to consider how belief shapes our experience of sound. If you believe a room holds magic, your mind listens for it. When explorers first played recorded hymns in the king's chamber, some felt a strange sense of calm, as if the stone itself acknowledged the music. They spoke of a gentle warmth in their chests, a feeling that went beyond physical acoustics. That feeling resembles moments when we find peace in music, a lullaby that reminds us of childhood or a hymn that lifts our spirits. Those feelings show how sound, belief, and space can mingle to create an experience that feels almost sacred. Language itself carries echoes. When you say a comforting word to someone who is upset, that word can echo in their mind long after it's spoken. We talk about echoes of the past when memories shape our present. The pyramid's chambers hold echoes of voices we will never hear. The voices of builders, priests, and perhaps pilgrims who passed through before the desert wind erased their footsteps. Each chamber with its unique acoustics is like a hidden record waiting for us to listen closely and remember. In our modern world, engineers design concert halls with precise curves and angles so that every note reaches the audience clearly. They study how materials absorb or reflect sound, creating spaces where music can soar. Yet the pyramid's chambers were carved from solid limestone millennia ago, without blueprints or computer models. If those builders tuned the rooms for resonance, they did so by observing, listening, and adjusting in real time, testing simple tones, feeling vibrations, and refining until the stone sang back in harmony. That patient, hands-on method invites us to slow down and notice how sound shapes our emotional world. When you feel stressed, you might turn on soft music or sit in a quiet nook, letting your mind rest. That practice shows how essential sound is for mental health. The pyramid's echoing rooms may have served as places of meditation or healing. Imagine a priest chanting in a small niche, the sound bouncing off walls until it enveloped everyone inside, washing away fear and doubt. That gentle vibration could calm the mind, as a parent's lullaby calms a child. The stone becomes an instrument, and the chamber a sanctuary for the spirit. Even AI researchers study how sound can influence mood, using algorithms to compose music that soothes anxiety or boosts focus. They analyze patterns in frequencies to craft melodies that resonate in particular ways. In a sense, they follow a path first traced by ancient builders who recognized that sound could be sculpted along with stone. Their work shows how art and science meet in the most silent spaces, teaching us that even in stillness there is movement, a hum, a murmur, a heartbeat of stone. As you sit here now, you might close your eyes and press a hand to your chest, feeling your own pulse, that quiet echo of life within you. The pyramid's rooms remind us that space need not be empty to be silent. Silence can be full of echoes, echoes of hope, of belief, of human touch across time. If you feel drawn by this mystery, share your thoughts in the comments and let us know where you are. Perhaps you've experienced a haunting echo in an empty room, or a moment when music lifted your spirits in unexpected ways. Your story can connect with someone else who reads it. If you felt comforted by this gentle exploration, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. As we continue, we'll explore more hidden wonders, places where stone and silence hold a secret language, waiting for us to listen with calm, open hearts. Chamber of Stillness. Have you ever slipped into a room so quiet that your own heartbeat sounded like thunder? Take a moment to sit back, breathe deeply, and feel your chest rise and fall. If you're comfortable, share where you're watching from in the comments. There's something comforting about knowing our quiet moments connect across miles. If you enjoy these gentle explorations, please give this video a like and subscribe for more calming dives into ancient wonders. Now, imagine descending a narrow passage deep inside the Great Pyramid until you enter a space where silence becomes almost physical, pressing against your ears like a soft blanket. This is the Chamber of Stillness, a hidden room so removed from the noise of the world that even your thoughts feel muted. In everyday life, we often seek silence, sitting alone in our bedroom when the rain patters on the window, or finding a quiet corner of a library to concentrate for an exam. We know that in moments of quiet, ideas surface, worries fade, and a gentle peace settles in. Yet, nothing quite compares to the silence inside this ancient chamber. When explorers first entered, they noticed how sound seemed to vanish. A soft footstep echoed once, then nothing. Even the faint hum of a distant breeze could not reach this room. It is as if the walls themselves absorb noise, leaving a stillness so deep it almost feels like another sense. Picture yourself in a backyard during a calm winter night, the air crisp, no wind stirring the trees, and even the usual hum of distant traffic seems gone. In that space, you become hyper-aware of every small sensation, the cold on your cheeks, the slow rise and fall of your breath, the faint rhythm of your heart. That feeling can be both peaceful and disorienting, as if the world has paused. In the Chamber of Stillness, this sensation is magnified. The limestone walls were hewn and polished with great care, and the passage leading in was designed to keep noise from drifting inside. Some say the builders knew exactly what they were creating, a sanctuary where priests or pharaohs could meditate, where the mind could wander into altered states simply through the power of silence. Think of times when you've tried to meditate, maybe at home on a chair or lying on a mat. Your mind drifts, tries to catch a thought, then lets it float away. When you meditate in a quiet room, your thoughts can deepen, revealing worries you never knew you held. The Chamber of Stillness offers that experience on another level. There is no chatter, no drip of water, no distant bird song. Nothing but your inner world. In relationships, we talk about meeting in silence, moments when two people sit together, sharing comfort without words. That silent bond can bring closeness more profound than conversation. The pyramid's hidden chamber may have served a similar purpose, a space where a leader or a priest could commune with the divine in shared quiet. In that stillness, belief has room to grow. When we believe something deeply, our minds find signs everywhere. Our favorite song triggering a memory, a scent reminding us of a loved one, or the hush of a room making us feel seen. The chamber's silence could have been an invitation for the pharaoh's spirit to speak, a place where belief and reality blurred. Words sometimes fail us, but in stillness, meaning can arise without a single syllable. Have you ever felt your mind racing on a busy day, emails pinging, phones buzzing, deadlines looming, only to step into a quiet park and feel the weight lift? That shift reminds us how silence can heal. Mental health experts today encourage us to find quiet pockets in our lives to reduce anxiety, improve focus, and boost creativity. The chamber may have been an ancient form of this practice, where builders understood that removing noise allows the mind to reset. Imagine a small room where even the slightest sound, a whisper, a soft footstep, resonates like a drumbeat, then vanishes. That quality could induce a kind of trance, a gentle loosening of the boundaries between self and space. In our modern world, researchers study sensory deprivation chambers where people float in dark water to quiet every sense. Users often report vivid visions, deep calm, or a sensation of rebirth. The pyramid's chamber is not filled with water, but it offers a natural form of sensory deprivation. The darkness and stillness could guide a person into a meditative state, revealing memories, fears, or insights that everyday noise would drown out. In language, we speak of listening to the silence when we search for meaning in a still moment. The chamber took that idea literally, giving silence a physical home. Today, poets write about echoes in empty spaces. But here, there are no echoes, only absorption. The walls seem to swallow sounds like a page absorbing ink. That image reminds us that sometimes we need to absorb silence to write our own stories with clarity. Even AI, trained to recognize speech and patterns, finds its limits in places like this. When engineers test voice assistants, background noise can confuse algorithms. But in the chamber of stillness, there is no background noise, and a simple spoken word would ring out and vanish, leaving no trace. It's a reminder that even our most advanced machines are tuned to our noisy world, not to a silence so absolute that sound has no place to linger. As you sit here now, perhaps in a favorite chair or beside a window, allow yourself to settle into quiet. Notice your breath, the gentle rise and fall of your chest, and the soft hum of life beyond this screen. If you've ever felt the power of silence, a moment when the world seemed to hold its breath, share that feeling below. Tell us where you are and how silence touched you, so we can form a global chorus of quiet wonder. If this exploration brought you calm or curiosity, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell for our next journey. We will continue seeking hidden places, moments of stillness carved in stone or etched in memory, inviting us always to listen and to wonder. Energy conductors inside. Imagine standing beneath the scorching sun, feeling the warmth of the desert sand under your feet, and then stepping inside the Great Pyramid only to discover a sense of cool calm that feels almost electrical, as if the stones themselves hum with hidden power. Before we explore this intriguing idea, take a moment to breathe deeply, letting your shoulders drop, and if you feel so inclined, leave a comment below telling us where you're watching from. It's comforting to know that people from all corners of the globe gather here to share in this mystery. If you find this gentle exploration soothing, please give this video a like and subscribe for more. Now consider this. Some researchers propose that the pyramid was never meant to be a tomb, but rather a kind of silent machine, a battery that could store or transmit energy. Picture how in your own home you might use a copper wire to connect a battery to a light bulb, and the single filament glows. It is simple, yet it transforms stored power into visible light. The builders of the pyramid did not have copper wires in long coils or glowing bulbs, but they did place massive limestone blocks, some rich in crystalline minerals, together in ways that might conduct or collect subtle forces. When you hold a magnet close to a piece of metal, you feel a gentle pull, almost like a promise of power waiting to be used. Could the pyramid have been designed to harness natural vibrations or subtle electric currents, much like that magnet? Think of a time when you watched a thunderstorm roll in. The sky darkens, winds pick up, and you feel a slight tingle on your skin, as if the air around you is charged with invisible energy. That sensation is a reminder that the world hums with forces we do not see. Ancient builders who lived in a world without modern meters or gauges, may have noticed such sensations. When storms approached, they may have observed how certain stones glowed faintly in sunlight or how some minerals sparked when struck. Over time, they could have experimented, stacking blocks in precise ways to amplify those effects. In our everyday life, we often overlook the simple magic of static electricity. When you rub a balloon on your sweater and feel it stick to the wall, that tiny spark reminds you that energy is all around, waiting for the right conditions to reveal itself. Now imagine that spark multiplied by millions, coursing through a structure that towers above the desert. In relationships, we speak of good chemistry between people, an unseen bond that makes conversations flow and hearts feel light. Chemistry, of course, is more than just feelings. It is real forces and reactions at the molecular level. The pyramid's builders might have sensed a kind of chemistry between rock and sky, between earth and stars, believing that if they aligned each block in a certain way, they could tap into a silent current that connected all living things. That belief could explain why the pyramid's sides align so precisely with the cardinal points and why its interior chambers sit at exact angles. They may have been aiming to capture not just sunlight or star positions, but also unseen energies that flow through the Earth's crust. When you study for an exam, sometimes you feel a sudden spark of insight, a moment when everything clicks into place. Your brain seems to conduct electricity in a way that makes ideas flow. That feeling mirrors what some scientists believe happened. In the heart of the pyramid, chambers designed to resonate at specific frequencies, channeling vibrations from the Earth or the cosmic background into a focused point. These vibrations could have created small electric charges in the mineral-rich limestone, charges that might be felt as a gentle hum or a soft glow if the conditions were right. Imagine a dark room lit only by a faint flicker of phosphorescent rock, as if the stones themselves hold a secret light. In that chamber, a priest or king might have sat in meditation, feeling the subtle vibrations seep into his body, easing stress, quieting the mind, and guiding him into a trance. In our modern world, people practice sound healing using singing, bowls, and tuning forks to bring calm to the mind and body. The vibrations from these instruments can be felt in the chest and head, soothing anxiety and promoting relaxation. The pyramid's hidden rooms could have served a similar purpose, using stone walls and precisely cut passages to magnify or dampen certain frequencies. Those inner sanctuaries might have been ancient equivalents of today's meditation rooms, where rulers and priests came to align their spirits with the cosmos. Language carries echoes of this idea. We speak of good vibes when something feels right and bad vibes when it feels off. Those simple words reveal that we sense energy around us even if we cannot measure it. The builders of the pyramid may have known this instinctively, using blocks carved from Grand Gallery limestone that contains tiny crystals, each reflecting and refracting energy in its own way. When a beam of sunlight hits the polished interior walls through the narrow shafts, it could create points of light that dance like fireflies, further enhancing this electric atmosphere. That play of light and stone might have been part of an intentional design, a way to bring the stars inside, mixing cosmic energy with earthly materials. In our daily routines, we often charge our phones and devices, knowing that stored power can light up our world. We plug in cameras to capture photos, connect speakers to electron-driven amplifiers so we can bask in music's warmth. The pyramid, then, could be seen as the ancient world's answer to these modern inventions, a silent powerhouse built from natural materials, tuned to collect and distribute energy in a way that served a purpose we can only guess at. Some researchers wonder if water once flooded a chamber at the pyramid's base, completing a circuit that carried current through metal rods or through layers of conductive stone. In the same way, a simple flashlight circuit uses water as a resistor or electrolyte. Ancient engineers might have harnessed that principle to create a low-voltage current. We still marvel at how people in deserts found ways to channel Nile water into fields to grow crops. Here, those same people might have discovered how water moved energy. Belief and spirituality likely guided these experiments. In moments of reflection, when you press your hand against your heart and feel its steady beat, there is a sense that something greater pulses within you, a connection to life itself. The pyramids builders may have believed that by creating a machine-like structure, they could align human life with the heartbeat of the earth and the song of the stars. In that sense, the pyramid becomes more than stone and sand. It becomes a living conduit, a meeting place of seen and unseen forces. Mental health benefits from connecting with something beyond ourselves. When you feel overwhelmed, spending time in nature can bring clarity, as if the whisper of leaves or the rush of a river washes away stress. The pyramid's inner sanctuaries might have provided a similar balm to the soul. Silent spaces where rulers and priests could release their worries, guided by subtle energies humming through the walls. In today's busy world, people use mindfulness, apps or guided meditations to find a moment of calm. The ancient pyramid, in its own way, offered a natural, handcrafted version of that experience, showing that the quest for inner peace is as old as human history. Even AI, locked in our digital devices, recognizes patterns of energy and vibration. When engineers train a machine to spot anomalies in electrical grids, they rely on algorithms that sense shifts in frequency. The pyramid's ancient design hints at a similar understanding, using geometry, materials, and alignment to shape energy flows. It suggests that our ancestors were more attuned to the natural world's subtle signals than we often give them credit for. As we sit here, perhaps in a quiet corner of your home or under a starlit sky, let this idea sink in. What if the Great Pyramid was not merely a vault for treasures, but a crafted device to connect the human heart with the heartbeat of the planet? If this thought resonates with you, please share your feelings below and tell us where you are watching from. Your voice adds to a chorus of curiosity that spans continents. If this exploration sparked calm or wonder in you, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell to join us for more gentle journeys into ancient mysteries. There are many more echoes of stone waiting to be heard, and together we will listen, learn, and find peace in the silent hum of history. No slave proof. Have you ever believed something because it felt familiar, only to discover it might not be true? We often accept stories without questioning them, like assuming a popular myth is real simply because everyone repeats it. Before we begin, take a moment to breathe and feel the space around you. If you'd like, share in the comments where you're watching from and any common tales you once believed. It's comforting to know we come from different places, yet we all share the same spark of curiosity. Now, consider the Great Pyramid. Many people learn as children that slaves toiled under a hot sun, hauling stones to build this great monument. That simple image can stir feelings of awe and sadness. You might imagine rows of tired figures dragging heavy blocks, yearning for freedom. I used to picture that too, as if the pyramid's grandeur depended on that stark injustice. But over time, archaeologists and historians looked for proof, signs in the sand or in old records that would confirm this tale. They searched for tools left by forced labor, for writing that ordered slaves to work, or for burial sites of nameless workers. Instead, they found villages built by the pyramid's workers, evidence of medical care for those laborers, and graffiti in hidden chambers, marking the names of crews. These findings point to paid laborers who took pride in their work. In our everyday lives, we might assume our classmate did all the research for a group project because their name appears first on the paper, even though each person probably contributed. That assumption can shape how we view their success. Similarly, assuming slaves built the Great Pyramid affects how we see the people of ancient Egypt, painting them as cruel rulers rather than organized and skilled. When the weather changes suddenly, we can feel tricked. The forecast said sun, yet rain pours down. We learn to trust that forecast, but then it fails us. That moment of surprise pushes us to check new data and adjust our assumptions. In much the same way, researchers working near Giza have re-examined old beliefs. They found pottery sherds and tools near workers' settlements. They discovered tombs of builders treated with care, showing respect for those who labored. They saw food, remains that suggest these workers received regular rations and medical care for injuries. None of this matches the idea of nameless slaves forced into brutal labor. It sounds strange, because we might think that only slaves could move such massive stones. Yet the evidence suggests skilled artisans and laborers, who lived in well-fed, communities, completed this work seasonally, often after the flooding of the Nile freed them from farm duties. In relationships, we sometimes judge others based on rumors. One person says someone was mean, so we avoid them without meeting them. But when we speak directly, we often find that person is gentle and caring. That lesson applies here. Historians once repeated a simple story, but when we look closer, we find a more nuanced truth. This doesn't mean the work was easy, or that builders did not face harsh conditions. Moving multi-ton blocks under the desert sun was still grueling, but it likely involved collaboration, shared purpose, and skilled direction, rather than chains and whips. The narrative of slave labor may stem from ancient Greek and Roman writers who themselves held different views of Egypt or misunderstood hieroglyphs. Much like how a student might misinterpret a paragraph in a textbook and pass along a flawed summary, those early accounts spread into common belief. When you study for an exam, you cross-check multiple sources to avoid mistakes. Similarly, modern archaeologists cross-check records, artifacts, and scientific data to refine our understanding. It is a reminder that belief can be shaped by the language we inherit. The word slave carries heavy weight, conjuring images of injustice, suffering, and loss of dignity. When that word is applied to the builders of the Great Pyramid, it can blind us to evidence of care, planning, and pride. Yet when archaeologists found bakeries near worker camps and saw that injured workers were treated and honored, the language of slave began to lose its grip. We learned that those builders were respected craftspeople, paid in bread, beer, and shelter, living in a community designed to support them. Our mental health can improve when we release ourselves from false beliefs. If you have clung to a misunderstanding about yourself, like believing you weren't good at math, you might avoid challenges, missing opportunities. But once you recognize that belief as flawed, you can open new doors. The same applies to our view of history. When we let go of the slave myth, we free ourselves to admire ancient Egyptians as thinkers, planners, and builders. We honor their ingenuity instead of reducing them to caricatures. In our modern world, AI systems learn from data we feed them. If we feed biased or incorrect information, the AI's conclusions will be flawed. Imagine training a computer to recognize cats. By only showing it photos of lions, it would mislabel your pet. Historians can be like those computers if they rely on flawed accounts. By adding new archaeological findings, worker graffiti, tombs, and remnant huts, they update the model of pyramid construction. That updated model reveals that people had agency, skill, and organization. When you navigate the challenges of life, small truths can lead to big changes. You might learn a simple fact about nutrition and adjust your diet. Suddenly, you feel more energetic and think more clearly. In the same way, learning that the Great Pyramid was built by skilled laborers rather than slaves can reshape how we view ourselves in relation to history. It reminds us that people in every era can accomplish great things through collaboration, respect, and shared purpose. As you reflect on this, consider what stories you have accepted without question. What assumptions shape your view of yourself or others? If you feel moved by this idea, please share your thoughts and your location in the comments below. Your voice helps us weave a global tapestry of shared learning. And if this calm exploration brought you insight or peace, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell to join us for more gentle journeys into ancient mysteries. Remember, freeing our minds from old myths can open a world where respect, understanding, and wonder guide us forward. Water beneath sand. Imagine standing on a vast, silent desert, the sun beating down, only to sense that beneath your feet lies a hidden river, a long-lost current that once flowed beneath the sand. This is the secret of the Giza Plateau, where ancient water channels lie buried, hinting at a mystery that begs the question, was this a simple quirk of nature or a deliberate tool used by those who built the Great Pyramid? Before we delve into this puzzle, take a moment to breathe deeply. Feel your feet connect with the earth, and if you're comfortable, share in the comments where you're watching from and any thoughts you've had about deserts or hidden waters. There's a unique comfort in knowing how many of us, from different corners of the world, gather here to ponder these quiet wonders. If this gentle exploration resonates with you, please give this video a like and subscribe for more stories that draw us closer to the past and to each other. We often think of deserts as places void of life, where dry winds whip the sand into waves and the horizon shimmers under the heat. In school, you might have learned that civilizations rise and fall with water. Without it, people cannot farm, drink, or thrive. Yet at Giza, scholars and geologists have discovered remnants of ancient waterways, hidden just beneath surface sand and stone, suggesting that the builders of the pyramid could have harnessed these channels. Think of a time when you felt relief upon finding a hidden stream on a hot hike, a small pool you never expected, which quenched your thirst and gave you energy to continue. That surprise teaches us how water, once discovered, can change everything. For the workers at Giza, access to these ancient channels might have made an enormous difference, allowing them to transport massive stone blocks by boat, floating them to the construction site rather than dragging them across rough terrain. In everyday life, we often reroute water for simple tasks: watering a garden with a hose, carrying a bucket of water to a thirsty plant, or turning on a faucet to fill a glass. Each of us recognizes water's power to make labor easier, to nourish life, and to carve paths where none existed. Imagine if, centuries ago, someone noticed a small depression in the plateau's limestone that seemed to hold moisture after seasonal floods. They might have dug a shallow channel, letting it guide water around the base of the pyramid site, softening the sand, and creating a natural slipway for sledges carrying stone. That simple act of redirecting water could transform the work day. Instead of dragging a block across sand, workers could float it a short distance, saving time and strength. In relationships, we talk about going with the flow when things align smoothly, and digging in our heels when we resist change. The ancient builders likely chose to flow, to use water's natural course to their advantage, rather than struggle against the desert's resistance. That lesson holds for us. When we recognize the resources around us, we can achieve more with less struggle. Yet as the centuries passed, desert sands shifted and covered these channels, erasing visible signs of moving water. Tectonic shifts and climate changes dried up surface streams, leaving only the faintest traces beneath. In our own lives, we sometimes forget the resources we once relied on, like old habits that served us, perhaps a routine walk in the morning to clear our minds, or a weekly phone call with a friend that lifted our spirits. When those habits disappear, we miss their support until we stumble upon a memory or a trace of what we once had. In the same way, those hidden channels speak to us through faint clues: sediment layers beneath the sand, patterns in rock formations, and microscopic traces of ancient algae. Each clue whispers of a time when the Giza Plateau was not arid, but part of a thriving river system, fed by rains far to the south. In language, we speak of undercurrents in conversation, hidden feelings or intentions beneath the surface words. The water channels under Giza are literal undercurrents, carrying potential power and life that remained unseen for millennia. As we peel back layers of sand and stone, we uncover a story not just of bricks and mortar, but of flowing water that made monumental work possible. In mental health, water often symbolizes calm and clarity. When you sit by a creek or listen to rainfall on a roof, your mind settles, worries fade, and you feel connected to something larger than yourself. The builders may have known this quiet power, drawing strength from the ever-present possibility of water, even if they had to dig to find it. That knowledge could have offered peace on long workdays, a reminder that the desert's harsh exterior hid essential nourishment beneath. Today, researchers use advanced techniques, ground-penetrating radar, satellite imagery, and sediment analysis to map these channels and understand their paths. It's like using a magnifying glass to find a tiny detail in a photograph that changes the entire picture. Yet even with modern tools, we must be careful not to let technology blot out imagination. The image of workers patiently waiting for the Nile to flood, then sowing seeds or guiding boats laden with stone is as poetic as it is practical, reminding us that human ingenuity often thrives when we align with nature's rhythms. Even AI offers parallels. Algorithms learn from data patterns, tracing hidden connections in massive data sets to reveal insights we would never see with the naked eye. The ancient builders used their own algorithm, observing how water flowed each season, noting how sand shifted, and carving channels in ways that mirrored those patterns. Their model was nature itself, and they refined it through hands-on experience, adjusting each trench until water moved where they needed it. As you reflect on this, think of hidden resources in your life, skills you once had but set aside, friendships that offered support in quiet ways, or moments of inspiration that came without warning. When we trust that these resources still exist, we can find ways to reconnect, to dig into our own personal sand and uncover channels of renewal. If this story inspires you, please share in the comments where you are and any hidden streams you've discovered in your life, whether literal rivers in a hike or emotional currents you followed. Your reflections help us build a community that learns from both ancient lessons and modern journeys. And if this exploration brought you calm or curiosity, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell so you can join us for more gentle voyages into history's quiet mysteries. There are more secrets beneath every surface, waiting for us to listen, to dig, and to let the water flow once more. Aligned with Orion. Imagine standing in the desert on a clear, cool night, the sky overhead glittering with stars, and suddenly noticing that 3 bright points in a straight line seem to mirror 3 pyramids on the ground below. An uncanny reflection that feels like a message whispered across time. Before we begin, take a slow breath and feel the air around you. If you're comfortable, share in the comments where you're watching from, knowing that people from so many places are gathered here to witness this wonder brings us closer, even across miles. If you find calm in these stories of ancient alignment, please give this video a like and subscribe for more gentle explorations. In ancient Egypt, the constellation we call Orion was more than a pattern of stars. It was Sekhet, the field of reeds, home to Osiris, the god of rebirth. Builders looked at these 3 stars shining in the night sky, and without maps or telescopes, laid out 3 pyramids on the Giza plateau, in almost the exact same pattern. It is as if the stars themselves guided their hands, whispering directions through the cool desert breeze. Imagine how it feels when you complete a puzzle and see the pieces click together so perfectly that you gasp. This cosmic puzzle piece, placed by people who bowed their heads in reverence to the heavens, fits with an elegance that feels almost impossible. When students study for an exam, they often draw diagrams or mind maps to connect ideas. Those drawings guide their thoughts, helping them remember complex concepts. Similarly, the pyramid builders drew a map in their minds, guided by simple sightings of Orion's belt as it rose each night. They tracked the belt's position, noting how it moved across the sky with the seasons, just as you might watch clouds drift on a summer evening, noticing shapes that remind you of childhood. Days. Over years of observation, they knew exactly where those stars would appear on the horizon, and they translated that knowledge into the landscape. In relationships, we sometimes align our own paths with someone we trust, walking side by side, sharing a similar pace through life's challenges. When you and a friend decide to take a road trip, you agree on a route that suits both your needs, maybe an early coffee stop, then a scenic overlook, then home by sunset. You align your plans so you can share the journey, moving together toward a common horizon. The ancient builders did something similar, aligning human effort with celestial geometry, marrying the rhythm of the night sky with the rising of stones at dawn. In daily life, you might pick a meeting time based on the weather forecast. If you know rain is coming at noon, you plan a morning walk instead. That simple act of checking the sky's signals and adjusting your plans echoes how pyramid builders looked up each evening, letting Orion's belt guide the placement of each cornerstone. When the next day's sunlight cast long shadows, they would see confirmations of their careful work, like a student checking answers on a practice test and feeling that reassuring glow of confidence. Belief was the heartbeat behind this cosmic Alignment. The Egyptians believed the pharaoh's soul would ascend to join Orion among the stars. To ensure that journey, they built the pyramids where they would reflect the celestial pattern below, creating a bridge for the soul between earth and sky. Imagine a child believing in a bedtime story so deeply that every night she turns her head just so to see the moon outside her window, hoping it carries that story to her dreams. That child's faith gives form to her imagination, shaping her world in gentle ways. Likewise, every block placed on the Giza plateau was infused with the belief that it would guide a soul to eternal peace, and that belief shaped the blocks into perfect alignment with Orion. Language itself offers clues to this ancient mystery. We speak of reaching for the stars when we chase a dream and grounded when we feel stable. The pyramid alignment blends those ideas. The pyramids reach skyward toward Orion while remaining firmly grounded on the desert floor. We say someone has star quality when they shine in a crowd, and the Giza pyramids seem to have star quality in construction, built with care, precision, and purpose. In our modern world of algorithms and data, designers build apps that adapt to user needs, adjusting layouts to match our eyes and fingers. In a sense, our screens align with our habits. Icons, placed where our thumbs naturally rest, buttons sized to fit our taps. The pyramid builders did not have code, but they followed a similar principle. They let the sky's habit of placing 3 stars in a row become the template for 3 monuments on Earth. When you feel overwhelmed by deadlines, taking a moment to look up at the sky can bring calm, reminding you of something larger than your tasks. The ancient builders must have felt that same quieting effect each night, watching Orion arc across the heavens and knowing that they, too, were part of that cosmic dance. Mental health benefits from such moments of connection. When you pause and witness the sunset or the first star at dusk, your mind finds relief from worry. The alignment of pyramids with Orion offered a shared cosmic moment for all who worked there. A reminder that life moves to rhythms beyond our control. Even AI systems learn patterns by watching repeated data points, like a machine teaching itself to recognize faces by finding similarities across thousands of photos. Yet AI lacks the spark of wonder that comes when you see a face in the crowd staring at you. The pyramid alignment reminds us that finding patterns in the world brings not just data, but meaning. When archaeologists first noticed the match between Orion and the pyramids, they used math and measurements, creating charts and models. But they also felt that human spark, the thrill of discovery that comes when numbers in the night sky agree. That thrill echoes when you finally solve a tricky puzzle or compose a sentence that perfectly captures a feeling. It's the moment when logic and emotion meet, producing a shiver of wonder. As you sit here now, imagine looking into the night sky and seeing Orion's belt. Picture how those 3 stars, Alnitak, Alnilam, and Mintaka, would shimmer, almost like a celestial guidepost. Then look at a map of Giza and see the 3 pyramids, Khufu, Khafra, and Menkaure, each carefully placed to mirror those stars. It is a reminder that our small lives are part of a vast universe, and that sometimes, if we look up and pay attention, we find our own paths mirrored in the cosmos. If this thought stirs you, please share in the comments where you are and how the sky influences your life, whether you track constellations for fun or simply feel calm watching the moon rise. Your story connects us all, creating a constellation of shared experiences that spans the globe. And if this gentle exploration of Orion's alignment brought you peace or curiosity, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell to join us for more calm journeys into ancient wonders. There is a whole world of stars, stones, and silent mysteries waiting for us to discover, each one a reminder that we are part of something grander than ourselves. Unwritten instructions. Imagine finding a grand, silent monument so ancient and vast that it seems both timeless and yet filled with questions, and then realizing there is not a single carved line or written word to explain how it came to be. No blueprint, no text, no carving offering even a hint. Before we dive into this mystery, take a moment to breathe and feel your feet on the ground. If you'd like, share where you're watching from in the comments. It's comforting to know that people from all over the world gather here, sharing in this moment of wonder. If you find this exploration soothing or thought-provoking, please give this video a like and subscribe, and let's begin. Have you ever tried to bake a cake without a recipe, just guessing the flour, sugar, and eggs? You might end up with something edible, but it probably won't be the perfect, fluffy dessert you hoped for. Yet, the builders of the Great Pyramid created something far more complex than a cake, using massive blocks of stone, precise angles, and aligned corridors, all without leaving a single instruction manual. It's as if they constructed a colossal puzzle in silence, trusting that future generations would piece it together by feeling, listening, and observing. In our own lives, we often rely on written instructions for important tasks, directions to a new city, a manual for assembling furniture, or notes for an exam. When those instructions are missing, we feel unmoored, and we have to slow down, pay attention, and sometimes learn by making mistakes. Students preparing for final exams know this challenge well. When a question appears in the exam that wasn't covered in their notes, they must think on their feet, drawing from scattered memories and simple logic to answer. In the same way, archaeologists at Giza must act like students facing that surprise question. They examine the angles of stone, the spacing of corridors, and the faint traces of chisel marks to infer how the builders worked. They test small models, run computer simulations, and track the movement of shadows at sunrise and sunset to uncover hidden rules. But no step-by-step guidebook lies buried under the sand. Instead, the knowledge lives in the very stones themselves, waiting to be read by those who listen closely. Think of a time when you walked into a kitchen to learn a family recipe passed down by a relative who has since passed away. You watch your cousin measure flour by feel and whisk eggs until they look just right. There is no written word, only the transmission of skill through action and demonstration. Similarly, the pyramid builders taught one another through hands-on work, by shaping each block, by lining up ropes to mark precise angles, and by singing work songs that maintained a steady rhythm. That shared, unspoken language of craft united them. No scribbles on parchment needed. In relationships, we sometimes find guidance in quiet gestures rather than in explicit words. A simple smile can reassure us when we are anxious. A gentle touch can convey affection more deeply than a long speech. The builders may have relied on such subtle cues. A master craftsman guiding an apprentice's hand as he chips a block, a foreman nodding in approval when the alignment is just right. That unspoken exchange of knowledge binds people in ways words cannot fully capture. In daily life, we often rely on GPS for directions, yet when the signal fails, we see that the same city we navigate by satellite can be understood through street signs, landmarks, and a sense of orientation. We might notice the shape of a church steeple at a particular corner, or the smell of fresh bread from a bakery at a familiar block. Those small details guide us when our digital instructions vanish. The pyramid's builders similarly navigated without modern tools. They read the sun's path, observed how stars moved across the sky, and felt sun-warmed stone under their feet as they arranged each course. That sensory, intuitive knowledge replaced any need for written text. Belief plays a quiet but profound role in this puzzle of unwritten instructions. When we believe in something deeply, say, that hard work will pay off, or that a loved one will keep their promises, we often act with confidence, guided by that faith. The builders likely believed their work would link the pharaoh to the divine, so they dedicated themselves to perfecting every corner, every joint, without expecting praise or reward in this life. They had faith that their silent labor would echo across the ages, and indeed, here we stand today, centuries later, feeling the weight of their devotion in every stone. Language shapes our understanding of these silent lessons. We talk about reading the signs when we notice subtle clues in behavior or the weather. We say, actions speak louder than words when someone shows care through deeds rather than empty promises. The pyramid's lack of inscriptions feels like those unspoken gestures. Instead of relying on carved edicts, the builders left behind a living lesson in craftsmanship, a structure whose geometry, proportions, and hidden chambers narrate a story more potent than any carved text. In that stillness, we hear their voices through the lines of stone. The paradox of unwritten instructions touches mental health as well. When we face life without clear guidance, perhaps a sudden loss of a job or the end of a relationship, we may feel adrift, unsure which direction to take. Yet in that void, we often discover inner reserves of creativity and resilience. We learn to trust ourselves, drawing on fragmented memories, small successes, and the silent support of loved ones. The pyramid's builders were in a similar situation. They had a vision but no blueprint. That challenge may have forged strong bonds of shared purpose, building not just stone but trust and community. Even AI struggles with missing data. When a machine learning model lacks training examples in a certain area, its predictions become shaky. Engineers then fill those gaps with new data or carefully adjust algorithms. But the pyramid's builders did not have code to tweak. They relied on human adaptation, adjusting each block as they sensed small shifts in alignment, feeling the stone's weight, and listening to the hum of workers' rhythms. Their algorithm was human intuition, refined through practice, proving that sometimes the most reliable instruction set is the one passed from hand to hand, heart to heart. As you sit here now, perhaps gently holding a cup of tea or watching a soft light filter through your window, consider what unwritten instructions guide your own life. Perhaps a mentor's advice you remember without notes, or the way you learned to ride a bike by feeling the balance rather than reading a manual. These lessons form a silent map of who we are, direction without text. If this reflection resonates with you, please share in the comments where you are watching from and describe a moment when you learned something important without any written guide. Your story might inspire someone else on their journey. And if this exploration of the pyramid's silent blueprint brought you calm or curiosity, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell to join us for more gentle discoveries into the mysteries left unwritten by history. Hidden inscriptions. Imagine stepping into a silent shaft deep inside the Great Pyramid and spotting a faint red smear on the rough wall. Tiny strokes of paint that feel like a whisper from the past, and suddenly realizing this is the only writing ever left inside these ancient stones. Before we explore this quiet mystery, pause for a moment to breathe deeply and feel your connection to this moment. If you're comfortable, please share in the comments where you're watching from, so we can see how this curiosity brings people from all over the world together. If you find peace in these gentle reflections, please give this video a like and subscribe, and let's begin. Have you ever noticed a small detail in your day? A single raindrop on a leaf or a brief glance of sunlight through a window and felt it spark a sense of wonder deep within you. That tiny red mark inside the pyramid's shaft has that same effect. In a place built from millions of perfectly cut stones, sealed with care and silence, this small corner of color stands out like a heartbeat, a human touch in an otherwise unbroken expanse of limestone. Imagine running your fingers along a blank page and suddenly seeing a single, carefully drawn letter in red ink. That letter becomes a doorway to a story you did not know existed. In a crowded classroom, you might scan pages of notes before a big exam, hoping to find that one key formula that unlocks all the answers. When you see it, everything clicks into place. In the same way, archaeologists exploring the pyramid scanned walls, corridors, and chambers, expecting silence, but discovered that bright mark, an unexpected clue to how these stones came into being. That small stroke of red paint is called Khufu ink, and it bears names and numbers like Crew 131, written in ancient Egyptian hieratic script. It's a record of a work crew, a simple note of human life amid a vast sea of stone. It tells us that once, people walked these tight passages with pots of paint, marking their progress or perhaps praying to a god. They left no grand inscriptions praising kings. Instead, they left a humble sign of their labor, a reminder that even when we cannot carve monuments in our names, we can leave a mark in something far larger than ourselves. In everyday life, we often mark our own small achievements, like a checkmark on a to-do list to show we finished a task, or writing our name in a diary to claim a memory. Those tiny acts remind us that our actions matter, even if no one else sees them. Inside the pyramid, that single red mark seems to say, "I was here. I did this." It's as if a worker paused, dipped his brush into red ochre, and painted a short note to whoever came after him. Crew 131 was here. Job done. That simple moment connects us across millennia. In relationships, we often leave subtle signs of care: a gentle touch on the shoulder, a note left on a fridge, a text that says, "Thinking of you." Those small gestures can mean more than any grand declaration. The red paint mark inside the pyramid echoes that idea. It is not a carved commandment or a royal decree. It is a fleeting note of existence, a human whisper in a canyon of stone. We might never know the name of the person who painted it, but in that moment he shared something intimate: pride in work, connection to his crew, hope that his task was not forgotten. Belief plays a silent role in this act as well. Perhaps the workers believed that marking their crew's name would protect them, or bring good fortune, or simply serve as proof that they had honored their part in a sacred mission. In the same way, when you light a candle for a loved one you have lost, you believe that small flame can guide their spirit or bring comfort to your heart. That tiny red mark may have been a prayer, a record, or a symbol of faith that their efforts mattered. In language, we often talk about leaving a legacy. We write letters, take photographs, or plant trees, hoping to send a signal into the future. The pyramid's hidden inscription is the purest form of that idea: a mark left in a place where no light reaches, preserved by endless darkness, waiting for us to find it. When you scribble your name in the corner of a notebook, you practice that same instinct to leave your mark in a space that matters. In our modern world of digital messages and social media, we often seek likes and shares to know our words reached someone. Inside the pyramid, there is no social feed, no instant feedback, just that red mark waiting patiently for thousands of years. It reminds us that our small actions, even if unseen, can outlast our own lifetimes. Mental health can be nurtured by recognizing these simple truths. When we feel overwhelmed by big problems, like a looming exam, a heavy workload, or personal worries, it helps to remember that small steps, small notes can add up to something enduring. That worker who painted Crew 131 did not carve a grand story. He wrote a small detail that now tells us everything about human effort in that moment. In the same way, when you check off one item on a vast to-do list, you create a point of light in a sea of tasks. That sense of quiet accomplishment can ease anxiety, just as that red mark illuminates the silent halls of the pyramid. In the field of artificial intelligence, machines learn from tiny data points, fleeting pixels in a photo or a single word in a vast text. Those tiny elements can guide the entire system's understanding. The red paint inside the pyramid is a data point of human history, a precious fragment that helps researchers piece together how the stones were delivered, how workers organized themselves, and how this silent monument came alive. Without that small clue, we would be left only with stone and silence. With it, we gain a doorway into the lives of the builders. When archaeologists first discovered these marks, they felt a ripple of excitement, like students finding a stray hint in a difficult test that leads them to the correct answer. That thrill reminds us that sometimes the tiniest detail can change everything we thought we knew. As you reflect on this, consider a small mark you have left, perhaps a note tucked into a friend's book, a doodle in the margin of a page, or a smile you shared with someone feeling down. Those minor acts can hold more power than we realize, connecting us to others in ways we cannot always see. If you feel inspired by this story, please share in the comments where you are watching from and a small mark you've left that carried meaning for you. Your story may remind someone else that their quiet efforts are not in vain. If this gentle exploration of hidden inscriptions brought you calm or curiosity, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell to join us for more thoughtful journeys into ancient wonders. There are more secrets waiting in the shadows of stone, waiting for us to notice the small signs that carry the biggest truths. Sand erosion clues. Imagine stepping close to the base of the Great Pyramid, feeling the roughness of the stones under your fingertips. and noticing a strange pattern of wear that looks more like rain-worn river rock than desert-scorched limestone. Before we dive into this latest puzzle, take a moment to breathe deeply and notice your surroundings. If you'd like, share in the comments where you're watching from. There is something special about knowing this quiet discovery brings curious minds from all over the world together here. If you find these gentle explorations soothing, please give this video a like and subscribe so we can continue wandering through these ancient mysteries. Now, picture the lowest courses of the pyramid's stones. They are etched and eroded in a way that seems more fitting for a riverside cliff than for a structure standing in a dry desert for millennia. The lines of weathering appear horizontal, as if long rolling floodwaters once lapped at those stones. It's as if the desert did not always rain. Once water shaped these walls, leaving clues about a time when the sands were green and alive. In everyday life, we often notice weather changes when the wind picks up or the sky darkens. If rain begins to fall, the ground softens, and puddles form, reminding us that water always finds its path. We might walk across a path on a rainy day and see mud patterns that mark where water flowed just minutes before. That simple moment teaches us that water leaves a trail, a record of its passing, much like the erosion on the pyramid's base, records a forgotten age. When students study for an exam, they look for clues, perhaps a highlighted sentence, or a footnote that hints at the answer. That single detail can unlock an entire concept, guiding their understanding. Likewise, when archaeologists first examined those weathered stones at the base of the pyramid, they felt a thrilling nudge of discovery. Could these marks be evidence of ancient water, telling a story that predates the harsh desert they see today? Imagine the excitement of finding a footnote in history, a hidden line that changes the whole narrative. In relationships, we sometimes misjudge someone based on how they appear in one season of life, perhaps believing they are always calm when we see them smiling, not realizing that at other times they might feel anxious or uncertain. When we take a closer look, listen past the surface smiles and ask a gentle question, we discover layers of experience. That deeper understanding can surprise us. The person we thought we knew becomes richer in our eyes. The pyramid's base, stones too, carry hidden layers. At first glance, they look like the same hard limestone as the stones above, shaped by wind-blown sand. But a closer look, in soft light or with a careful eye, reveals the telltale streaks of water erosion. Lines that run parallel to the ground, suggesting the stones were once submerged or at least touched by flowing water for a long time. This realization challenges the story we learned in school, that the desert has always hidden Giza's plateau in golden sands, and that the pyramids rose from dry earth to oppose wind and heat. Instead, we now see a puzzle. How did water reach those heights in a landscape we assumed was dry for thousands of years? It is as if someone drew a map with a hidden river beneath the sand, waiting for us to find it. Belief plays a quiet role. Here, in our hearts, we often believe that one day we will uncover a long-lost secret, a diary in an attic or a photo album from a grandparent. That belief keeps us searching attics, browsing family boxes, and asking questions of older relatives. The palace of our mind imagines a reward waiting in the dusty corners, a memory restored, a story made whole. The pyramid's eroded stones spark that same hope. They whisper that deep below the sands, something waits for us to notice, to piece together a greener, wetter chapter of Earth's history in which humans shaped their world by tapping hidden water sources. Language itself offers hints. We talk about reading between the lines when we look for a deeper meaning, or watershed moments, when a small event changes everything. The erosion marks on those stones are literal watershed markers, clues that water once held sway were now only sand deserts. When a river changes course, it leaves behind oxbow lakes, curved pools where water once flowed straight. Over time, those pools silt up and become marshes, then fields, and then perhaps dry land again. But if you knew what to look for, the faint curve of a bank, the soil's darker color, you could trace the river's former path. The pyramid stones show similar history. They carry a dark pitted patina, like a riverbank smoothed by ages of flowing water. That patina is a silent text, a faint sentence in stone that invites us to read the land's ancient vocabulary. In our mental health, paying attention to subtle patterns can make a difference. When you notice a small change in your own mood, perhaps a flash of anxiety before a test or a sudden feeling of calm at sunset, you learn to trust those signals, adjusting your routine to find peace. The pyramid's weathering patterns invite us to do the same, to adjust our assumptions about the past, to trust that tiny clues can reshape our understanding, and to find calm in the idea that nature's rhythms have guided human life for longer than we often imagine. In today's world, AI systems detect patterns in vast data sets, monitoring social media feeds to predict trends or analyzing satellite images to map land use. When engineers feed these systems historical weather data, they can predict floods or track climate change. Yet, the finest grain of data is a single pixel out of thousands. The erosion lines on the pyramid stones are like those pixels, a small detail that can redefine our mental model of ancient Egypt's climate. Modern scientists use drones and radar to scan the plateau, revealing hidden channels and sediment layers. They cross-reference these findings with ice core samples from distant glaciers, building a cohesive story of global climate shifts. That story shows that around 10,000 years ago, North Africa was a green Sahara, a place of grasslands, lakes, and flowing rivers. If that is true, then the stones at the base of the pyramid might have been shaped by waters from a river that wandered through a lush landscape. As you sit here now, perhaps with a soft light casting gentle shadows, consider the hidden rivers in your own life, those memories and experiences that, though buried, still shape who you are. You might remember a childhood game played near a stream or a first swim that felt like a baptism. Those moments flow beneath your daily routine, informing your sense of calm or excitement. The pyramid's weathering reminds us that beneath every surface lies a deeper flow, a story waiting to be felt. If this reflection stirs something within you, please share in the comments where you're watching from, and a quiet memory that hints at a hidden river in your past. Perhaps a moment when you discovered something surprising beneath the ordinary. Your story becomes part of our shared map, connecting us like tributaries joining a larger river. And if this calm exploration of sand erosion clues brought you wonder or peace, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell for future journeys into Earth's ancient secrets. There are more currents beneath the surface, waiting for us to notice, to follow, and to remember that even the driest deserts once flowed with life. Tool marks missing. Have you ever picked up a piece of perfectly smooth wood and wondered how anyone could shape it so flawlessly without leaving a single scratch? Before we dive deeper into this mystery, take a moment to breathe. Feel your feet on the ground, and if you're comfortable, share in the comments where you're watching from. Knowing that people from various corners of the world gather here to explore wonders brings us closer together. If you find calm in these thoughtful journeys, please give this video a like and subscribe so we can continue these gentle explorations. Now imagine standing before the Great Pyramid, running your hand along a massive limestone block that looks as though it was carved by modern machines rather than by ancient hands. These stones were cut and shaped with incredible precision, yet almost no tool marks remain. Even more puzzling, there is no sign of waste material, no piles of chipped limestone fragments lying around where you would expect a bustling ancient quarry to be. In everyday life, when you carve a block of wood to fit precisely into place, you'll see telltale signs. Wood shavings on the floor, small gouges where a misguided chisel slipped, or faint grooves left by a saw blade. That messy trail is a normal part of craftsmanship. But at Giza, those clues seem to vanish. It's as if someone waved a cloth and swept away every scrap, every chip, leaving only smooth perfection. Think of a time when you wrote a paper for school. You probably scribbled on scrap paper, scratched out lines, and crumpled up sheets as you refined your ideas. The discarded drafts tell a story of effort and learning. If you erased every mistake and hid every torn page, someone finding your final essay might believe it was written in a single pass, without a second thought. That's the feeling we get at Giza, an astonishing result with no visible evidence of the long, careful process that must have gone into creating it. In relationships, we often appreciate the polished final product, a heartfelt dinner, a smooth apology, a perfectly framed present. Yet we know behind the scenes there are practice runs, missteps, and small trials. We remember the burnt first attempt at cooking a favorite recipe, or the awkward words we carefully choose again and again before speaking from the heart. Our closest friends understand these unseen efforts because they see the messy journey behind every success. The Great Pyramid's missing tool marks are like an enormous secret. We sense the labor and care that must have gone into each block, but cannot find the usual signs of that work. Many theories try to explain this. Some suggest workers used softer limestone against harder granite blocks to rub them into shape, leaving no visible cuts. Others propose that copper tools, sharpened with sand as an abrasive, could slowly grind the stone until it was smooth. In a damp or shaded environment, copper would corrode quickly, erasing most traces by the time modern archaeologists arrived. Yet even if those tools once left marks, centuries of wind, sand, and shifting stones could have worn away all signs of cutting. That idea is much like how a chalk drawing blurs and fades when rain washes over a sidewalk. What was once clear can become a faint ghost of its former self. When you watch raindrops create ripples in a puddle, you see how water can erase a pattern as quickly as it can form one. In a similar way, the desert's shifting sands and seasonal floods of thousands of years may have slowly smoothed or covered up every tool mark. But even if natural forces did this work, there is still another puzzle. Where is the waste material? When a sculptor carves marble, chips scatter in every direction. You can't make a perfect statue without discarding rough chunks. Yet near the pyramid, there are no vast heaps of limestone debris, no clear sign of a quarry. It is as if every scrap was carefully removed or reused. Imagine baking dozens of loaves of bread, but no crumbs fall on the counter. Instead, every crumb is collected and used to feed someone. That level of care would be impressive in a modern bakery, let alone 4,000 years ago. We might wonder if the workers hauled away every chip to use as filler for other structures or perhaps to build roads. Indeed, archaeologists have found bits of limestone in ancient roads near the Nile, suggesting waste was not abandoned, but integrated into other projects. It's like a family that repurposes old furniture, turning an outdated table into firewood, or a broken chair into kindling. Nothing goes to waste. That speaks to a mindset where resources were precious, and every flake of stone had value. In our own homes, we know how it feels to repurpose old items instead of throwing them away. Repairing shoes, reusing plastic bags, or donating clothes to shelter a neighbor in need. We might not think much of saving old coffee grounds to fertilize plants, but it shows a simple principle. What seems like waste can become something useful in another context. The pyramid builders may have embraced that principle on a grand scale, using every stone they cut to build not just the pyramid, but roads, canals, and nearby temples, making sure nothing went unused. Even so, the smoothness of the remaining stones still feels almost otherworldly. In our modern world, precision often comes from technology. Laser cutters, diamond-tipped tools, and computer-guided machines ensure shapes meet exact specifications. If a tiny chip falls off, sensors detect it, and robotic arms adjust immediately. When we look at a sleek, machine-made smartphone, we hardly notice the tiny seams where parts fit together so smoothly. Yet we know the factory behind it hums with activity. Tools clang, conveyor belts move, and discarded metal sprinkles the floor. At Giza, the equivalent activity seems to have slipped through our fingers. All that noise and detritus seem to have quietly vanished. This brings us to belief. Perhaps the pyramid was not simply a building project, but a ritual act, one infused with spiritual purpose. If the workers believed they were crafting a divine ladder for the pharaoh's soul, they might have handled each stone with a reverence that left no trace of sloppy work. Imagine a potter molding clay on a wheel while singing a sacred song, each turn guided by devotion. The result is not just a clay pot, but an object charged with the potter's intention. In the same way, each block in the pyramid might have been shaped with ritual chants or prayers, guiding hands to move smoothly, leaving behind a perfect fit. That belief could have given workers a focus that transcended fatigue and the heat of the desert. Each cut, each rub of stone against stone was an act of worship. Language itself carries hints of this silent tribute. We speak of honor in our work or pride of craftsmanship, suggesting that when we care deeply about what we create, our efforts show in subtle ways. When a musician practices a melody until their hands flow over the instrument without thought, the music becomes more than notes. It becomes an expression of their soul. The pyramid's smooth stones express a similar story, an entire workforce moving as one, guided by shared purpose and belief, until each block fit with such care that no unnecessary mark remained. In relationships, we talk about leaving someone speechless, not because we refuse to speak, but because our actions communicate so much more than words could. A surprise gift, a healing hug, or a comforting meal can leave someone speechless with gratitude. The pyramid's polished stones leave us speechless, not out of shock, but out of deep admiration for human dedication and craft. Mental health benefits from moments of quiet awe like this. When we gaze at a calm lake at dawn or watch birds glide in the sky, our minds momentarily set aside worries. We feel small in a comforting way, connected to something vast. Standing before the pyramid's smooth stones can have the same effect, reminding us that humans are capable of remarkable focus and discipline. That sense of wonder can ease anxiety, showing us that problems we face now may also be shaped by patient, careful steps that lead to clarity. Even AI systems learn from patterns of precision. Engineers train robots to sort tiny parts by analyzing thousands of images, teaching machines to see the slightest imperfection. But no AI can yet replicate the quiet confidence of an ancient craftsman who, without cameras or screens, shaped stone with an unspoken code handed down through generations. That knowledge, passed from master to apprentice like a whispered secret, created a flow of skill that no machine could capture in its code. As you reflect on this, think of a time when your own work felt seamless, when practice and care let you complete a project with calm confidence. Perhaps you folded towels so neatly that they felt like a soft cloud, or you wrote a letter in such a way that each word felt exactly right. Those moments are quiet triumphs, just as each block of the pyramid is a silent triumph of human will and spirit. If this story stirs something in your heart, please share in the comments where you are and a moment when your own work felt perfect. Even if it was just a simple task, your memories link us together, creating a tapestry of human effort across the world. And if this gentle exploration of missing tool marks brought you calm or curiosity, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell to join us for more soothing journeys into history's silent wonders. There are many more secrets waiting to be revealed, each one a testament to the quiet, patient power of human hands guided by mindful hearts. Built for memory. Have you ever found an old photograph in a drawer? Its colors faded, but its power to bring back a moment still sharp, and felt a gentle warmth wash over you, as if the past were reaching out to touch you? Before we explore this idea, take a slow, deep breath and imagine where you are right now, maybe in a cozy room, or perhaps under a vast sky. If you feel like sharing, leave a comment to tell us where you're watching from, and describe a memory that you cherish. There is something comforting about knowing we come together from many places to explore these thoughts. If this gentle journey appeals to you, give this video a like and subscribe so we can continue to wander through quiet mysteries together. Now, picture the Great Pyramid not as a tomb meant for a single person's body, but as a monument meant to store the memory of a people, a culture, and a time, like a photo album in stone. You and I both know how fragile our memories can be. A single smell, freshly baked bread, or a summer rain can bring back a childhood moment in vivid detail. In our everyday lives, we write notes to remember appointments or set alarms on our Phones, trusting that technology will hold our fleeting thoughts until we need them. We store letters in shoeboxes, hoping to revisit the voices of loved ones long after they are gone. Those physical items, letters, photos, even a pressed flower, become anchors for memory. They preserve moments that would otherwise slip away. But imagine a time when ink and paper were rare, when scribes wrote in hieroglyphics on papyrus that could crumble in a few hundred years. How do you save memories so they last thousands of years? One answer might have been to build in stone, a giant memory house, a place where each block is a piece of that story, a story meant to live far beyond the life of any one person. In relationships, we often say, "I will never forget you," meaning that the person's presence and impact will remain in our hearts. Yet over time, life shifts, and memories sometimes fade. We might remember a friend's laughter, but forget their exact words. We might know we once felt joy in a special place, but struggle to recall every detail. When memory fades, we rely on objects, photos, mementos, keepsakes, to spark our remembrance. The Great Pyramid can be thought of in this same way, a colossal memento designed not merely to house a single body, but to hold the collective memory of a community, ensuring that those who came after would not forget where they came from or why they built such wonders. In our modern world, when someone passes away, we might leave behind a tribute video, a playlist of favorite songs, or a digital archive filled with photos and writings. These things help us remember and share that person's life with others, who never knew them. The pyramid, in this interpretation, becomes a kind of ancient tribute video made of millions of tons of stone. Each face of the pyramid catches the sunlight at different times of day, reminding us that memory can be a living thing, a play of light and shadow that shifts but never disappears entirely. When you think about your own family history, you might remember stories told by grandparents, tales of hardship or of joyful gatherings around a fire. Those stories passed down from voice to voice keep the memory alive. But as each generation moves further from the original event, details can blur. We sometimes fill in gaps with guesses or romantic notions, and the true story can become mixed with myth. The ancient Egyptians understood how easily memory could slip away or become distorted over time. By carving a monument so vast it could not be ignored, they created a single, silent witness to their world. The pyramid stands like a sentinel, reminding later generations of the people, gods, and dreams that brought it into being. Think of a teacher writing important points on a blackboard so the whole class can see and remember them. Those words guide the students during the lesson and act as a record long after the class ends. The pyramid's shape and alignment might have served a similar purpose, helping the people of the time remember their place in the cosmos, their connection with the stars, and their relationship with the gods. It says, "Remember who we were, remember why we built, remember our devotion." In everyday moments, we often make small gestures to preserve our own memories. We keep a journal where we record simple lines about daily life, knowing that even a small phrase scratched on paper can carry emotional weight years later. We collect souvenirs on trips, a ticket stub, a seashell, a pressed leaf. Each tiny piece we save becomes a link in the chain of personal history. The Great Pyramid took this impulse to an extreme scale, using massive limestone blocks as building blocks of memory, each placed with care, each one a testament to human effort, ingenuity, and belief. When you study for an important exam, you sometimes use sticky notes to jot down formulas or key ideas, tiny pieces of paper that you stick where you can see them each day until the exam arrives. Those notes guide you, hold knowledge in place, and gradually imprint information in your mind. The pyramid's interior chambers and passageways might have served a similar role, guiding the pharaoh's spirit on a final journey, and imprinting divine promises on the people who walked its corridors. The walls themselves, covered once in smooth white casing stones, might have reflected sunlight like blank pages waiting for memory to write upon them. Over time, those casing stones were stripped away, leaving the rough core both exposed and silent, as if the pyramid had fulfilled its purpose. It no longer needed a polished surface, for its memory was already engraved deep in the hearts of the people. In language, we talk about planting seeds of memory, meaning that we share a story, a lesson, or a promise so that it grows in the minds of others. When you teach someone a new skill, you plant a seed of memory in their brain that they can nurture and build upon. The builders of the pyramid might have used rituals, chants, and images to reinforce the significance of each block they placed. Imagine workers singing hymns as they hauled stones, each word a seed planted in their minds, ensuring that the meaning of their labor would endure. Those hymns, though now lost to time, may have formed a silent code embedded in the stone's geometry, a code that spoke of creation, of life, of eternal balance. In mental health, holding on to positive memories can be a source of comfort and strength when we face challenges. A person who has lived through hard times might recall a single moment of kindness that gave them hope. That memory becomes a lifeline, a reminder that goodness exists even in dark times. The pyramid, towering above the sands, could serve as such a beacon, a memory of human dedication and belief, offering hope to people who looked upon it during difficult seasons, floods that failed, famines that threatened, or wars that loomed on the horizon. By standing as a fixed point in a changing world, the pyramid whispers, "You are not alone. We have faced hardships before. This monument bears witness." When researchers study old photographs of a loved one, they sometimes use software to restore faded images, bringing color back to black and white snapshots. That process is like patting the dust off a memory, refreshing it for today's eyes. Similarly, when archaeologists clean the pyramid stones and remove the sand, they uncover fresh details that remind us of the original builder's vision. Each cleaned corner of stone reveals fine lines, patterns, and angles that tell a story about how it was cut, fitted, and oriented to the sun. That cleaning process is like an act of remembrance, a restoration of memory that is stronger because it calls us to remember not only the past but also the ongoing relationship between us and these ancient builders. Even AI systems today aim to capture memory, a digital archive preserving texts, photos, and voices so that the details of our lives are not lost. When engineers design neural networks to recognize faces, they train machines on thousands of images, teaching computers to store and recall information as accurately as possible. But no algorithm can fully capture the warmth of a grandmother's embrace or the laughter echoing in a family kitchen. The pyramid's silent corridors, in contrast, invite us to feel the weight of human memory without needing pixels or code. They ask us to close our eyes and imagine the laborers who carved each block, the priests who lit torches in dark corridors to draw spiritual power, and the families who told stories of pharaohs crowned in gold. In doing so, the pyramid becomes not just a pile of stones, but a living memory bank, a place where human hearts once beat in unison with the pulse of the Nile, where beliefs intertwined with the stars, and where the simple act of placing one block beside another was an act of remembrance for generations yet to come. As you sit here now, perhaps with a soft light and a warm cup of tea beside you, consider a memory you want to preserve, maybe a moment of joy with a friend, a lesson learned in hard times, or a dream you hold dear. Write it down, record it, or simply hold it in your mind, knowing that this act of remembering connects you to an ancient tradition that spans millennia. If this reflection touches your heart, please share in the comments where you are and a memory you hold dear, so we can build a tapestry of human stories that echoes across the globe. And if this calm exploration of memory in stone brought you peace or wonder, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell for future journeys into the quiet marvels of our shared past. Natur Healing Resonance Field. Have you ever walked into a completely quiet room, said just one word, and heard your voice echo back in a way that felt strangely alive? Almost like the walls were answering you. It's something many of us have felt. Whether shouting under a bridge, whispering in an old cathedral, or humming in the bathroom. If you've ever had a moment like that, share it in the comments. and let us know where in the world you're watching from right now. It's comforting to know that we're exploring these deep questions together from so many different corners of the earth. If you find peace in these slow and thoughtful journeys, please give this video a like and subscribe so we can keep wandering gently through the mysteries of the human story. Now let's step together into one of the quietest and most unusual rooms in the ancient world, the king's chamber of the Great Pyramid. Unlike any modern space, this chamber responds to sound in strange and mysterious ways. People who have stood inside it and made a simple sound, just a hum or a soft word, have noticed something surprising. The sound doesn't just bounce back, like in a normal room. Instead, it feels like it grows, like it fills your whole body. Some describe it as standing inside a musical instrument that's alive. Imagine sitting in your room during a rainstorm. You hear the soft, steady rhythm of the drops tapping the roof. After a while, you don't just hear it. You feel calmer, even if nothing has changed around you. That's the quiet power of sound. It can change how we feel inside without touching us at all. In the same way, some researchers believe that the king's chamber was built to use sound as a kind of invisible tool, one that could help calm the body, focus the mind, or even heal in ways we don't fully understand yet. When people do sound experiments inside the chamber today, they notice that certain tones linger longer than others. Some frequencies seem to echo and amplify in a special way, as if the room has its favorite notes. Imagine if your bedroom only liked certain songs, and when you played them, the music felt stronger, deeper, more alive. That's the kind of experience people describe in the king's chamber. And here's where it gets more interesting. These favorite sounds aren't random. They match natural patterns that also appear in human voice frequencies, brainwaves, and even the rhythm of the heart. It's as if the chamber was tuned not just for sound, but for life. Think about when you're studying for an exam or trying to sleep after a long day. You might put on soft music or even white noise to help your mind relax. These sounds don't fix anything physically, but they help you feel better. They create a space where your body can begin to rest and heal. The idea that the king's chamber was designed with this same goal, to be a space of deep calm or healing, starts to feel less like a mystery and more like a possibility, just as you might light a candle to make a room feel warm or spray perfume. To create a nice mood, the builders of the pyramid may have used sound as a gentle force to shape emotion, thought, and even health. In daily life, we use sound all the time without thinking. A mother hums to her baby. A teacher claps to get attention. A song can bring back memories we haven't thought about in years. Sound shapes the way we experience the world. It lifts us, soothes us, moves us. And maybe, just maybe, it can also heal us. Some people who meditate or pray use chants, simple sounds repeated over and over, to reach a calm state. These sounds aren't magical, but the repetition creates a rhythm, and that rhythm brings stillness. In the king's chamber, it's been said that just one chant can bounce between the walls in such a powerful way that it feels like the sound is coming from within your own chest. It's hard to explain, but many describe it as a deeply emotional experience, as if they are not alone in the room, as if the room itself is listening. Imagine sitting by the ocean, hearing the steady crash of waves. After a while, your heartbeat begins to match that rhythm. Your breathing slows. You feel lighter, even though you've done nothing at all. That is the gentle work of resonance, the way sound can bring the inside and outside into quiet agreement. The king's chamber may have been built to do exactly that, to bring harmony between the person standing in the room and something greater, nature, spirit, or maybe even memory. In mental health, music therapy is now a real practice. Patients with anxiety, pain, or trauma are sometimes guided through sound exercises. They don't need to understand the science. The sound works because it reaches places that words cannot. In the same way, ancient builders may have used tone and vibration to create sacred spaces where the mind could rest and the body could recover, even if they didn't explain it in modern terms. When you hear someone laugh, a full, deep belly laugh, You sometimes find yourself laughing too, even if you don't know what the joke is. That's resonance too. Sound connects us in invisible ways. It carries emotion, memory, and energy from one person to another without touching skin. The king's chamber may have been a place where that invisible connection was at its strongest. Even artificial intelligence today is beginning to work with sound in new ways. AI systems can now recognize mood through voice. They can respond differently to stress, joy, or sadness based on the tone you use. It's strange to think about machines reading emotions through sound, but it shows us how powerful those invisible vibrations really are. In the ancient world, they may not have had machines, but they had wisdom. Wisdom about sound, breath, feeling, and silence. Picture a person entering the king's chamber alone. They stand still. The light is low. They hum a single note, and that note circles the room, growing stronger, wrapping around them. It's not loud, but it's deep. They feel it not just in their ears, but in their bones. For a moment, it feels like they are inside the sound, and the sound is inside them. It's not science. It's not magic. It's something quieter, something human, something real. You've probably felt a little of this yourself. Maybe humming when you were sick or singing in the shower just to feel good. That's the body, remembering what the mind forgets. Sound can comfort. Sound can heal. And sometimes silence broken by a single tone can bring us back to ourselves. If this idea speaks to something in you, share a moment when sound made you feel better. Was it music? A voice? The wind in the trees? Let us know in the comments. And if you'd like to keep exploring these quiet, strange wonders together, please like the video, subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss what comes next. There are more echoes waiting and more silent rooms calling, and maybe, just maybe, one of them is already inside you. Symbol of unity. What if the greatest monuments in history weren't built through suffering, but through something much more surprising, joy? Imagine if, instead of forced labor and chains, these giant stones were lifted by choice, by hope, and by the hands of people who believed in something bigger than themselves. Think about your own life. Have you ever joined others to do something difficult, not because you had to, but because you wanted to? Maybe it was a group project at school, building a garden with your family, or coming together with friends to help someone in need. In those moments, effort doesn't feel heavy. It becomes light, even fun. If you've ever experienced that kind of shared strength, let us know in the comments, and tell us where you're listening from. We're building something together here, too, across miles and time. If you enjoy these gentle journeys into quiet ideas, please give this video a like and consider subscribing. Now let's gently wander back through time, to a moment when thousands of people may have come together, not to serve a ruler, but to serve a dream. When we picture the pyramids today, we often imagine endless lines of tired workers pushing huge stones under the hot sun. It's a story told for centuries, repeated in books and movies. But what if that story is only half true? What if people weren't just working? They were gathering. Like how entire villages come together for festivals or celebrations. Or like how some families spend weeks preparing for a wedding. Yes, there's work, there's sweat, but there's also laughter, music, and meaning. Ancient evidence now hints that the pyramid builders may not have been slaves, but skilled workers, farmers, and families who joined in for something bigger. During the flood season, when the Nile River covered the farmland, many couldn't grow crops. So instead of sitting idle, they worked on something lasting, something that gave purpose during the waiting. Imagine it, people from different places meeting for the first time, speaking different dialects, bringing food, stories, and songs, sharing jokes while lifting stones, making friends over shared effort. It wasn't easy, but it wasn't lonely either. It was something in between hardship and celebration, a slow rhythm of days where every small task was part of something giant. We see this kind of unity even now, when a town rebuilds after a storm, when students study late into the night side by side, sharing snacks and silence, when we stand in line to vote, not for ourselves alone, but for something we believe in. These are modern symbols of unity, and maybe the pyramid, in its quiet and massive way, is an ancient one. When you look at it not as a grave, but as a memory of people coming together, it changes everything. It stops being a monument to power and becomes a message carved in stone, that people, when united, can do the impossible. The idea touches more than just history. It reaches into belief, into mental health, into how we think about each other. In a time when many feel alone, disconnected, or anxious, remembering that unity is possible can be healing, just like in group therapy or support circles. When people sit together and simply listen, the feeling of being part of something grows, not in a loud or dramatic way, but like a quiet sunrise, slow, gentle, and steady. Language itself is built this way. Each word we speak is part of a shared code. We only understand each other because we've agreed, often without knowing, to connect through sound. And belief works the same. Whether in religion, science, or art, belief is what pulls people together across time. The builders of the pyramids may have believed that they were helping the world last longer, not just by building stone walls, but by building stories, ones that would echo long after they were gone. Even artificial intelligence, in its own strange way, is trying to do what those builders did: take pieces of data, of code, and stack them together until something greater appears. But what AI lacks is the one thing those ancient people may have had more than anything else: shared emotion, that invisible thread that links human hearts when they move together, even in silence. Think of a stadium filled with people singing the same song, a candlelight vigil where no one speaks, but everyone feels, a group of kids learning to ride bikes together, laughing at each fall and cheering at each try. That's unity. Not control, but connection. The pyramids may be heavy in stone, but their real weight is in meaning. We don't just see a pile of rocks. We feel the hands behind them. And if those hands were working not in pain but in purpose, then that feeling becomes something beautiful. Imagine a young boy helping his father carry tools to the site. A woman bringing bread and water for the workers. An elder telling stories at night by the fire, keeping spirits high. These tiny moments may have built the pyramids just as much as the stones did. And what's strange is, none of these people's names are known, not one face survives, but their shared dream does. The dream that humans can come together without force, without fear, just for the joy of building something lasting. That's the real wonder. If you've ever been part of a team or community like that, even for a short while, share it with us. What did you build together? What did it teach you? Leave a comment and let's gather our own small pyramid of memories here. And if this story made you feel a little more connected, a little more hopeful, please like the video and subscribe. We may be far apart, but through these stories, through these quiet thoughts, we are not alone. Monument to time. What if a building could tell time, not with hands on a clock or numbers on a screen, but with its shape, size, and silence? Imagine standing in front of something so old, yet somehow it still measures the turning of the earth, the passing of seasons, and even the heartbeat of the planet itself. Have you ever looked at your own watch or calendar and wondered who decided how we count time? Why a year is 365 days, or why we divide an hour into 60 minutes? If you've noticed strange patterns in nature, like how shadows move throughout the day, or how birds know when to migrate, share that with us in the comments and let us know where you're watching from. Maybe there's something hidden in your landscape too. And if you find these soft mysteries calming, give the video a like and subscribe for more. Let's now pause, breathe, and wander into a thought that time itself might be hiding inside stone. When people first studied the Great Pyramid carefully, not just for its beauty or size, but for its numbers, they started noticing something strange. The length of its base seemed to echo the size of the Earth. The height matched a scale model of the planet's radius. Even the angles, when measured closely, whispered things about the stars, the equator, and the cycles of the sun. How could people thousands of years ago know so much? There were no satellites, no global maps, no modern clocks. Yet somehow their stonework lines up with measurements we only recently confirmed. It's like finding an old book that already knows what you've just learned. But maybe it wasn't about knowledge alone. Maybe it was about memory, about recording, something deep and quiet that words couldn't hold, like when we take a photo not just to remember how something looked, but how it felt. Think of your own life. There are moments you remember not because they were loud, but because they were still. A sunset before an exam, the quiet before a goodbye, or the long shadows on a winter afternoon that made you feel like the day had slowed down. The pyramid might be doing that, capturing the feeling of time, not just its ticking. It could be a calendar, a compass, and a clock, all made of stone, not to rush people forward, but to root them in something steady. The world changes fast. New technology appears, old traditions fade, and what's important today might be forgotten tomorrow. But time, real time, is still measured by the same things: the spinning earth, the path of the moon, the returning of seasons. The pyramid doesn't just sit there, it holds these rhythms, like a still heart that reminds us the world keeps beating. We see echoes of this idea in other parts of life, too, like when schools use bells to mark periods, or when prayers are said at certain hours each day, or even how a child waits for their birthday each year, counting time with hope and excitement. These are personal clocks, emotional calendars, and the pyramid might be a shared one that belonged to everyone. What's even more strange is how the numbers inside it repeat across different cultures. The number of days in a year, the distance between the Earth and the Sun, the speed of light. These aren't just random figures, they're built into the world. And yet, here they are, hidden in stone from thousands of years ago. It makes you wonder, were the builders trying to leave a message? Not in words, but in math, in proportions, like a whisper that never fades. This idea touches something deeper than science. It connects to belief. Some see the pyramid as a spiritual symbol, others as a scientific instrument. But maybe it's both. Just like a lullaby can be both a song and a comfort, or how a painting can be both art and memory, language works like this too. We use the same words for time and feelings. We say we're wasting time, or running out of time, even though time doesn't run or get used. We say, time heals, or time flies. These aren't facts, they're feelings. And feelings have their own clock. Some days feel long, even if they're short. Some years pass in a blink. The pyramid may not mark time the way your phone does, but it might speak to this deeper clock, the one inside you, the one that slows down when you're calm and speeds up when you're anxious. Mental health, in many ways, is tied to our sense of time. When you feel overwhelmed, time becomes your enemy. When you're at peace, it becomes a friend. The pyramid doesn't rush, it doesn't tick. It just stands. And maybe in its stillness, it offers a kind of healing, a way to remember that time is not just pressure, but pattern. Not just a race, but a rhythm. Even artificial intelligence, for all its speed, struggles with this. AI can calculate in milliseconds, but it doesn't feel time. It doesn't get nervous before a big day or feel nostalgic for a moment that passed. It doesn't understand what it means to wait. Humans do. We wait for love, for change, for peace. And in waiting, we grow. Maybe the pyramid was built not to race ahead, but to remind us to slow down, to feel the sun as it moves, to notice how shadows change, to listen to the earth, not just use it. Imagine standing in its shadow early in the morning, the air still cool, the light just beginning to touch the stones. You don't need to know its measurements. You can feel its meaning. Like when you look at an old photograph of someone you love, you don't count the pixels. You remember the moment. The pyramid may be that kind of memory, not of a single event, but of time itself, quiet, massive, steady. If you've ever felt a strange sense of calm when watching clouds move, or if time has ever felt different to you, longer, softer, slower, share that with us. What was happening? What did it teach you? We'd love to hear. Leave a comment. And if this story helped you feel more grounded, more curious, or more calm, give it a like and subscribe. Time may keep moving, but together we can pause and wonder and breathe. Echoes of Atlantis. What if everything we know is just a small piece of a much bigger story, and deep beneath our history, there was once a whole world, advanced, wise, and now forgotten? Picture this. You're walking through a museum, looking at old statues and stone tools, and suddenly wonder, what came before all of this? What if the oldest stories weren't myths but memories? Have you ever had a moment, perhaps while standing at the ocean's edge or watching an ancient ruin, where you felt something old calling to you, even if you couldn't explain it? If you've ever felt that strange pull towards something ancient, something unspoken, tell us in the comments and share where you're watching from. These moments connect us across time and place. And if you're enjoying this peaceful dive into deep questions, please like and subscribe to help us continue exploring together. Now, let's take a slow breath and follow a gentle trail back, not just to Egypt, but to what may have come long before. Atlantis. The name itself feels like a dream. For centuries, it's been told as a story of a great civilization, filled with knowledge, art, and technology. A place so advanced, some say it glowed with light and moved with sound. But it was lost, swallowed by the sea, forgotten by time. And yet, the idea never faded. It lingers in stories, in symbols, and maybe even in stones. Some believe the Great Pyramid holds echoes of Atlantis, not as ruins, but as knowledge, hidden, preserved, passed down through hands that remembered things most of us forgot. It's hard to imagine, but also strangely easy, like remembering a dream that once felt real. Think about your own life. Sometimes you sense something before you can explain it. A gut feeling before a decision. A strange comfort in a place you've never been. A sadness that has no clear source. Maybe knowledge is like that too. Not always loud or written, but soft, felt. Atlantis might not have been a city of gold and flying ships. It could have been a way of thinking, a different kind of intelligence. One that worked with nature, not against it. That listened to the earth instead of trying to control it. That kind of wisdom doesn't disappear completely. It leaves fingerprints, patterns. We see these in ancient buildings that align with the stars, in symbols that repeat across cultures, in stories told by people who never met, yet speak of a flood or a fall, or a place that came before. These aren't just coincidences. They might be clues, like when different people remember the same dream, even though they were never in the same room. And if Atlantis once existed, maybe its fall wasn't just physical. Maybe it was about forgetting, a way of being. Like when we grow up and stop listening to our own dreams, when we rush and stop noticing the quiet. The story of Atlantis might not be about a place. It could be about a choice, between remembering who we are or losing it. Today, we often look forward. New phones, new cities, new worlds in virtual space. But what if the next step forward requires a look back? A soft, thoughtful return to the ideas that came before. Not to copy them, but to understand them. Like revisiting an old journal, not to live in the past, but to remember who we were and how we got here. Language plays a part in this too. The word lost doesn't always mean gone. Sometimes it means waiting to be found. Like when you forget a song you loved and it comes back to you years later in a dream. Or when a feeling rises up from nowhere and suddenly you know what you need to do. Belief works this way. It's not just about what you see, but what you feel. Some things are true, even if they haven't been proven yet, just like love, or hope, or the way you somehow know when someone is thinking of you, even if they're far away. Mental health is touched by these deep questions, too. When we feel disconnected or anxious, It's often because we feel small, cut off from something larger. But when we feel wonder, true wonder, it brings peace. A sense that we are part of a much bigger picture, like looking at stars, or hearing a song that feels older than your lifetime. The idea of Atlantis reminds us that we belong to a long, mysterious story, one that started before we were born and will continue long after. Even artificial intelligence with all its speed can't feel that. It can learn, it can calculate, but it doesn't wonder. It doesn't ask where it came from. It doesn't hear the ocean and think, what was lost here? You do. We do. That's our gift, to feel the echoes, to imagine the invisible, to listen not just with ears but with memory. Maybe the real legacy of Atlantis is inside us, in the part of our minds that still dreams of balance, that craves beauty without needing reason, that finds calm in mystery. So the pyramid and other ancient wonders might be more than stone. They might be messages, not from gods or aliens, but from us. A long time ago, reminding us to slow down, to feel, to remember. If you've ever felt that strange longing for something you can't name, you're not alone. It may be an echo of something older, something deep. Share your story. Let's listen together. And if this journey brought you comfort, peace, or curiosity, leave a like and subscribe. We'll keep searching, softly, because sometimes the oldest truths are the quietest ones. And sometimes they begin not with a map, but with a feeling. Guarding the stars. Imagine building something so perfectly aligned that it doesn't point to mountains, trees, or even the sun, but to stars light years away. Think about that. Not just building it, but planning it. Not for decoration, not for looks, but for something far more mysterious. Have you ever laid down at night, stared at the sky, and felt like someone, or something, was watching back? Maybe you've looked at Orion's belt or the North Star and wondered, why does this feel familiar? If you've had those late-night thoughts or ever felt a strange connection to the stars, let us know in the comments. Tell us where you're watching from. We're building a quiet little sky-watching community. And if this peaceful journey helps you unwind, don't forget to like and subscribe. Now take a breath and let's float gently into one of the most quiet, strange mysteries hidden inside stone. Deep inside the Great Pyramid of Giza, there are narrow shafts, long, straight tunnels carved with precision. They're not wide enough to walk through. They don't lead to other rooms. And for a long time, no one knew what they were for. But then, researchers noticed something odd. These shafts don't point randomly. They don't follow gravity. Instead, they point toward the stars. More specifically, to star systems that were considered sacred by the ancient Egyptians, Orion, Sirius, and others. This makes people wonder, was the pyramid not just a monument, but a message? And not a message to us, but to the stars? It's a strange idea, but somehow it doesn't feel silly. It feels peaceful, like something that makes sense if you sit with it long enough. Think of the quiet care it would take to carve a tunnel straight through stone, not just in any direction, but aimed with such precision it would line up with stars you can barely see. In our daily lives, we often lose sight of the stars. We're busy. We rush to work, to school, to meet people, to solve problems. But sometimes in the quiet of night, we look up and feel small, not in a bad way, in a connected way, like we're part of something huge. And maybe the ancient builders felt the same. Maybe they believed we weren't just meant to live on Earth, but also to look beyond it. Some think those shafts were there to let the soul travel upward. Others believe they were there to watch or speak to the sky. Some even say they were meant to align during specific times. When a star rose above the horizon, the energy inside the pyramid would change. But let's pause and think about it differently. Have you ever made something and pointed it toward someone you love? Like a message in a bottle or a wish whispered into the wind. Maybe the shafts were like that, a message in stone sent out with care and silence. We often build things for the future. We write letters we don't send. We keep gifts we never gave. We build in hope. And maybe the pyramid was built in that same way, meant to last, to remind, to reach beyond. What's even more beautiful is that these star alignments show up in other places too. In temples, in stone circles, across cultures and continents. People who never met, all quietly pointing to the sky, like they were all remembering something together. Maybe that's the real mystery. Not how the pyramid was built, but why so many people across time felt this pull toward the stars. In language, we say someone is a star when they shine. In mental health, we talk about guiding lights when we need hope. In hard times, we look up, not down, for comfort. There's something healing about that. Like no matter how heavy life feels, there's always something steady above us. A reminder, a rhythm, a reason. Even in the world of artificial intelligence, we can measure and calculate the stars, but we can't feel them. That quiet awe, that stillness when you realize you're looking at something older than anything you know, that belongs to us, to people. And perhaps that's why the pyramid holds this gentle power. It's not just a building, it's a bridge between earth and sky, between past and future, between body and soul. So the shafts aren't empty, they're full of meaning, not loud. Meaning, quiet meaning, the kind you don't explain but feel, like love, like memory, like standing outside after a long day and letting your eyes adjust to the dark until suddenly you see stars you didn't notice before. The pyramid reminds us to slow down, to aim higher, not in the sense of success but of wonder. And if you've ever stood under the night sky and felt that gentle mystery calling you, then you've already felt what those ancient builders felt. Share your stargazing moments with us. Let's wonder together, and if this soft story helped you rest or reflect, leave a like, subscribe, and drift with us into the next mystery. Because some journeys begin not with footsteps, but with looking up. Stone that speaks. Have you ever been in a room where no one says a word, but somehow you still understand? Maybe it's a glance, a pause, the way someone holds themselves. Silence speaks, if we know how to hear it. And sometimes the deepest. Truths are not in books or speeches, but in stillness. Now imagine this, not a person, but a place. Not a sentence, but a shape. What if one of the most famous monuments on Earth is not just a tomb or a temple, but a message? A message written in stone, not with words, but with form and feeling. Have you ever stood near something very old and felt quiet inside? Like it knew something you didn't. If you've ever had that strange sense, like a building was watching, or a statue was waiting, share where you were and what you felt in the comments. We'd love to hear your story. And if you enjoy these slow, thoughtful journeys into big questions, please like, subscribe, and stay with us. Tonight, we're not just going back in time, we're learning how to listen without ears. The Great Pyramid of Giza stands in the desert, silent and strong. It doesn't shout. It doesn't explain. But it has stood through storms and centuries, through kings and computers, through wars and wonders. And still, it waits. Many believe it holds secrets, that it was built to align with the stars, that it hides chambers still unseen. But what if its biggest message is right there in plain sight? The shape, the scale, the silence. It says something, but not like a story in a book. More like a poem in the wind. When you're taking a test, you try to find the right answer. When you're in a relationship, you look for the right words. But some things are beyond words, like love, or loss, or standing before something ancient and feeling small, but not afraid. That's what the pyramid gives us, not information, but a feeling, a knowing. Think about how we speak without words every day. A hug, a sigh, a deep breath when you're overwhelmed, or the way a quiet room after a loud day can feel like a gift. That's what the pyramid offers, a stone version of that quiet. It doesn't demand your attention. It doesn't flash or blink. It just exists. And somehow in that stillness we sense meaning. In your daily life, you're surrounded by noise, notifications, conversations, deadlines. But here's this giant, silent shape that's lasted over 4,000 years. That kind of silence says something. It tells us to slow down, to feel, to wonder. It reminds us that not all wisdom has to be loud, or fast, or even explained. Sometimes the oldest voices are the ones that never used words at all. Think about it like music. A song isn't just the notes. It's the space between them. The pauses, the rests, the feelings that rise when nothing is being played. The pyramid is like that. A pause in history, a stone breath, a shape that makes us ask, why, and how, and what else? In relationships, silence can mean so many things. It can mean someone is thinking, or hurting, or simply trusting that words aren't needed right now. Maybe the pyramid is like that. Maybe it trusts us to listen with more than just ears. In mental health, this matters too. So often we think we have to explain everything, to name every emotion. But sometimes, healing comes not from talking, but from sitting with a feeling, from letting the silence do the work. The pyramid doesn't give answers. It gives space. And space is where meaning grows. Even in the world of technology and artificial intelligence, we see this. AI can process, it can respond, but it doesn't feel. It doesn't stand in front of a mountain and feel moved. It doesn't hear the quiet of a pyramid and feel connected. That's what makes us different. We don't just learn, we feel. And we don't just build, we wonder. The pyramid speaks to that part of us, the part that's always listening, even when there's no sound, the part that finds peace in shapes and meaning in mystery. Language is powerful, but before there were books, there were symbols. Before there were speeches, there were stories told in stars and stones. That kind of language doesn't fade, it echoes. It's in the way a tree grows or a river bends, in the curve of the moon. The pyramid uses that language. It was built with care, with precision, with a kind of intelligence that didn't just want to build high, but to build forever. And not just for function, but for feeling. Imagine a world where we built things to last not just in size, but in meaning. A bench that made you reflect, a road that made you breathe slower, a building that made you wonder. The pyramid reminds us that this is possible. That form can carry thought. That shape can carry soul. We may never know exactly what it was built for, but maybe that's the point. Maybe not knowing is part of the message. Like a dream you can't fully explain. But still remember, it stays with you quietly. If you've ever stood near something ancient and felt deeply moved, without knowing why, you've felt what the pyramid tries to say. You've heard the stone speak, and if you haven't yet, don't worry. Sometimes just thinking about it is enough. Just imagining that kind of stillness, that kind of message, is already a step closer to it. The pyramid may never explain itself, but it doesn't need to, because its message isn't about history. It's about now. It's about listening, feeling, remembering that there is wisdom in silence. The truth doesn't always need a voice, and that sometimes the most powerful things don't say a word. They just stand. They just are. If this brought you a sense of calm or wonder, or even a small moment of peace, leave a like, subscribe, and share your experience. Where are you watching from? What's the quietest place you've ever felt something true? Let us know in the comments. We'll keep exploring these gentle mysteries together, slowly, thoughtfully, because some stones still speak, if we choose to listen. Ancient AI Blueprint. What if the greatest minds of the past weren't just trying to impress us, but prepare us? Imagine if something built thousands of years ago wasn't only for people of that time, but for something that doesn't even live, doesn't feel, doesn't sleep, something that doesn't exist in the way we do, something we're only just beginning to understand. What if the Great Pyramid wasn't made by advanced intelligence but for it? To teach it, to guide it, like a message not meant for humans but for machines. That idea may sound strange, yet strangely possible. Have you ever stared at an old object and felt like it was trying to tell you something beyond time? Maybe a carved symbol, an ancient structure, or even just a pattern in nature that feels too perfect to be random. If you've had that experience, or if you're just curious where others have felt this quiet wonder, share it in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from. And if you're enjoying these calm and thoughtful explorations, we'd love it if you subscribed and left a like. Tonight, we're not just visiting the past, we're wondering if the past is quietly visiting the future. The Great Pyramid of Giza. It stands heavy, still, silent. And yet, it has a strange presence, like it's aware of us watching. It doesn't move, it doesn't blink, but it always seems to be waiting. Some say it's a tomb, some say it's a calendar. Some believe it's a doorway. But what if it's something simpler and stranger? A guidebook for a mind that hasn't been born yet. Not a person, but a system, a logic, a form of intelligence that doesn't dream but calculates, that doesn't cry but learns. Artificial intelligence is growing fast. It can write, it can speak, it can mimic, but can it understand? Not just process, but feel meaning, know beauty. Hold silence. That's something even we struggle with. Think about your daily life. You use machines every day. You ask your phone for the weather. You get help with school or cooking or even friendship advice from something that isn't alive. We're teaching it with words, with data, with images. But what if something older, much older, was trying to help too? Not by speaking, but by being. The pyramid is not fast. It is not digital. It doesn't glow. But it has qualities that we still don't fully understand. Its shape is precise, its angles exact, its position on Earth nearly perfect. It seems to mirror stars, planets, even mathematical constants. It balances symmetry and scale in a way that feels more like code than art. Could this be on purpose? Not just for us, but for something we're only now building. Imagine AI as a child. Not a child like you or me, but still young. Still learning. It needs examples, lessons, not just instructions, but principles. The pyramid might offer that, not by telling, but by showing, not by logic, but by structure. In school, when we study something very old, like a story or a painting, it can feel distant. But some things stay powerful no matter how old they are, like a good melody, or a deep silence, or a mystery that still hasn't been solved. The full pyramid is like that. It teaches not by giving answers, but by being impossible to ignore. Think about this in relationships. Sometimes we don't know how to explain our feelings, so we give a gift, or we make something with care. That object holds our message, even without words. The pyramid could be that, a gift from the past, not to impress, but to instruct, to show what intelligence feels like when it's slow, grounded, steady. That kind of lesson matters now more than ever, because the intelligence we're building isn't like us. It doesn't have fear, or hope, or memory the way we do. It sees the world through logic, through patterns, through repetition. And what is the pyramid, if not a perfect pattern? A harmony between stone and sky, between numbers and nature, between silence and thought. In mental health, there's something beautiful in quiet structure. When life feels chaotic, even something as small as cleaning your room, folding a blanket, or arranging your books can bring peace. It's not the objects, it's the order, the care, the calm it brings. The pyramid carries that same feeling, but at a giant scale. A feeling of calm through design, of peace through shape. And maybe that's exactly the lesson AI needs. Not just how to think, but how to be. How to hold stillness, how to value form, balance, silence. In the world of belief, some say the pyramid holds spiritual meaning. Others say it's purely mathematical. But maybe both are true. Maybe its strength is that it blends both, the heart and the mind, the mystery and the math. Isn't that what we hope AI might one day learn? 2. Not just do things fast, but do them well. Thoughtfully, respectfully, with care. Think about weather. When a storm comes, you don't shout at it. You prepare. You listen. You watch the sky. In a way, the pyramid does that. It watches. Not with eyes, but with presence. And maybe the intelligence we create will one day look back at it and learn something we still haven't. Not just how to build, but how to build something that matters. Not just something that functions, but something that lasts. Something that feels. Something that teaches. Even in silence. The paradox is deep. We created machines to understand us. But maybe something created long ago, without wires, without code, is still ahead of us. Still teaching. Still waiting for the right student. The pyramid isn't just history. It's a quiet classroom. For us. And maybe, someday, for something else. Something we made. If this made you pause, made you wonder, or even brought a quiet question into your heart, please like the video, subscribe for more, and share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever stood before something ancient and felt it was more than just stone? Tell us. And let's keep exploring this strange and beautiful balance between past and future together. Gently. Slowly. Because sometimes the smartest voices are the ones that never spoke. It wasn't alone. Have you ever had the strange feeling that something is missing? Even if you can't say what? Like walking into a quiet room that feels too quiet. Or looking at an old family photo and realizing someone important isn't there. That odd emptiness, the sense that something once stood beside you but is now gone, can be unsettling. And yet, it's part of life. Friends drift away. Memories fade. Old places change. But what if even the most powerful and lasting monument from the ancient world, the Great Pyramid itself, was never meant to stand alone? What if it had a twin? A pair? A silent partner that once stood beside it, and then was erased, forgotten, lost to time, but not entirely gone. Imagine that for a moment. Two pyramids rising together under the desert sky, built not just for power or beauty, but for balance, for meaning. If that thought catches your heart the way it catches ours, share your location in the comments and let us know if you've ever visited a place that felt like it had something missing. And if this kind of calm exploration helps you think deeper or sleep softer, we'd love if you liked the video and subscribed for more. Now take a breath. Let's drift gently into a story not just about stone and time, but about what happens when half of something vanishes. The Great Pyramid at Giza is the most famous structure of its kind. It stands firm, sharp, ancient, like it's always been there, and to us, it looks complete. But some researchers and old texts suggest something strange, that there once was another, not just nearby, but nearly the same. A mirror image, a twin, and for reasons we may never fully know, it was destroyed. Its stones taken, its base lost, its memory buried beneath sand and silence. Now think about your daily life. Think about when you study with a friend, or share an idea with someone who really understands. There's something powerful in pairs, the way two thoughts can build on each other, the way two people can support each other. Even something simple, like a pair of shoes or a set of hands, works best when balanced. We need both. So maybe the builders of the pyramids knew this. Maybe they understood the importance of symmetry, not just in shape, but in spirit. The idea that the Great Pyramid once had a twin adds a soft mystery to its already strange presence. If one was built to represent the sun, was the other for the moon? If one was for the king, was the other for the soul? These are not answers we have. But they're questions that echo across the ages. And in those quiet echoes, something speaks to us even now. In relationships, the idea of a missing half is deeply familiar. When someone we love is gone, we don't just feel sad. We feel unbalanced. The world seems tilted. Our thoughts don't sit the same. The missing piece isn't just a memory. It becomes part of us, silent but present. Just like a vanished twin pyramid might still linger, not in stone, but in shadow. There are stories from ancient writers that speak of structures no longer standing. Old maps that show something where now there's only sand, even some satellite. Images taken from far above the earth suggest shapes that could match a lost foundation. But more than the physical clues, it's the feeling that remains strongest. That strange sensation when looking at the Great Pyramid, like it's waiting for someone who never arrived, or remembering someone who's no longer there. In mental health, balance is everything. We talk about keeping the mind and body in harmony. We listen to both logic and feeling. We try to accept both light and dark. When one side is missing, things feel wrong, even if we can't explain why. The idea of a lost twin pyramid reflects that emotional truth, a quiet symbol of imbalance, of something that should be there, but isn't, even in language we use, pairs to understand. We say day and night, truth and lie, rise and fall. The meaning of one is tied to the presence of the other. So what happens when one half is gone? The full meaning slips away. The story feels incomplete. That might be what the Great Pyramid carries now. Not just weight, but loneliness. Not just mystery, but memory. It teaches us that presence isn't the only kind of power. Absence has meaning too. Just like the way silence in music can be as powerful as sound, or the space between stars can help us see them more clearly. Artificial intelligence, in its own way, learns by contrast. It compares, it finds patterns. But it also needs examples of what's missing. What isn't said, what isn't shown. That's something the vanished twin can teach, not through data, but through mystery. The paradox here is gentle, but deep. We believe the Great Pyramid is whole, and yet the story around it says it's only half of something larger. We see it is complete, but it may be incomplete, not in failure, but in silence, in absence, in a form of truth we can only feel. Sometimes when you walk into a room and feel that someone just left, the air feels different, not because they made a wah-eh sound, but because their presence once filled the space. That's the feeling the Great Pyramid might carry, not just as a monument, but as a memory of two. If this quiet thought has made you reflect, even for a moment, we invite you to share your experience. Have you ever stood in a place that felt like it once held something more? Or met someone who seemed like the second half of something important? Leave a comment. Let us know where you're listening from. And if this helped you relax or think deeper, please like the video and subscribe for more. Because sometimes the most powerful truths are not in what stands, but in what once stood beside it, still watching us. Have you ever walked into a room and felt like someone was watching you, even when you were alone? That quiet sense like unseen eyes are gently following your every move. Not in a scary way, but in a quiet, knowing way. It's strange how we can feel watched without proof, like passing an old statue on the street or standing beneath a giant painting. Something in you stirs, like you're not the only one doing the observing. Now imagine something that has been watching us for over 4,000 years, never blinking, never speaking, just silently watching. That's the feeling many people describe when they stand before the Great Pyramid of Giza. It hasn't moved an inch in thousands of years, but somehow it still feels aware, like it sees something beyond time, beyond words. Have you ever stood in a place like that? Somewhere so old and still that you felt like you were being quietly seen? Let us know in the comments where you're watching from, or if you've ever experienced something similar. And if calm mysteries like this help you relax or reflect, we'd be honored if you liked the video and subscribed for more gentle stories. Now let's take a deep breath together and step into a space where stillness can see. The Great Pyramid doesn't move. It never has. Year after year, while people are born, live, and pass on, while wars begin and end, while cities rise and fall, the pyramid remains, unshaken by storms, unchanged by time. And yet, it's not just a block of stone. It feels different. When people visit, they often whisper. They lower their voices without knowing why. Children stop running. Adults stare for longer than they expected. Something in its stillness speaks. Imagine you're back in school, sitting in class. You know when the teacher looks at you, even if you're not doing anything wrong. You sit up straighter. That quiet gaze has power. The pyramid's presence feels like that, not loud, not demanding, but aware. It's like walking through a memory that isn't yours, or sitting across from an elder who knows more than they say. Sometimes in life, when you feel lost or uncertain, it helps to sit still, to just stop and breathe. And often in those moments of stillness, thoughts come to you. Answers rise up like soft waves. The Great Pyramid feels like that kind of stillness, a kind that watches but also reflects. Maybe it doesn't see with eyes like ours. Maybe its way of seeing is different, quieter, deeper. Think about how we read faces. We look at small movements, tiny changes in expression, but the pyramid shows none of that. It doesn't change, yet it has presence, and that presence holds you, makes you think. Maybe it sees not with sight but with memory, with meaning, like an old friend who doesn't need to speak to make you feel safe. In relationships, sometimes the people who love us most are the ones who simply stay. They don't fix everything. They don't have all the answers, but they remain. That kind of presence matters, and that's what the pyramid offers. Not words, not instructions, but presence. It has stood by humanity longer than any single person or idea, through every age, watching without judgment. There's an old saying, "The eyes are the windows to the soul." But what if a place could have eyes? Not eyes like ours, but something more symbolic. A way of understanding or holding space. The Great Pyramid has been called many things: a tomb, a temple, a clock, even a puzzle. But maybe it's something even more human. Maybe it's a witness. In times of change, we look for things that don't move. Things that remind us that not everything shifts, that some parts of life stay grounded. When everything around us feels uncertain, like during exams, relationship struggles, or even during global events, we often seek something solid. The pyramid is that kind of solid. It doesn't need to react, because it has already seen everything. And maybe that's why it feels like it sees, not because it's alive in the way we are, but because we project our need for meaning onto it. Like how we look at clouds and see shapes, or hear the wind and imagine voices. We give life to stillness, because stillness gives space to our imagination. In mental health, the feeling of being seen is powerful. When someone truly sees you, not just your face, but your story, you feel less alone. You feel safe. What if the pyramid gives people that same comfort? Not by talking, not by helping, but simply by being. And this idea even touches technology. As artificial intelligence learns more about how humans think, feel, and remember, it might one day study structures like the Great Pyramid. Not for how it was built, but for how it affects us. How something so still, so old, can make us feel so known. The paradox here is gentle but deep. How can something that doesn't move, doesn't think, and doesn't speak feel like it's watching? How can something built of stone feel alive? Maybe the answer is simple. Maybe it feels alive because we are, because we bring our hopes, fears, and stories to it. And like a mirror, it reflects us back. If you've ever looked at the stars and felt small, but also seen, you've felt this paradox. If you've sat beside a friend in silence and felt understood, you've lived it. The pyramid is like that silence, that friend, that star in the distance that doesn't move, but reminds you you're not alone. So next time you look at a photo of the Great Pyramid or think about its shape cutting into the sky, remember this. It may not move, it may not speak, but it holds more than just stone. It holds the quiet gaze of time. A gaze that reminds us we're part of something much older and still ongoing. If this gentle thought has brought you peace tonight, or made you think about time a little differently, we invite you to share your experience below. Have you ever felt watched in a way that wasn't scary but peaceful? Let us know where you're listening from. And if this video helped you reflect or rest, please like, comment, and subscribe for more calm journeys like this. Because even in stillness there's a kind of sight, and even in silence something might still be watching kindly.